1,
2,
3,
4,
5,
6,
7,
8.
Nice.
Oh my God.
Really tight.
That was so tight.
It's like we have not forgotten the ways of
fucking
podcast
step.
stuff.
Counting.
I think we actually got better.
Yeah.
Maybe even got a little bit. I was just thinking that. I'm so glad you said that. I feel
You know,
like we got a little better at counting.
distance makes the heart grow fonder, as they say.
Were
Which
you
is
guys saving up your counting skills over the course of the last year?
That's yeah.
I was
Griff and I actually kind of rehearsed a little bit over the weekend.
Tilda Swinton took me into her dojo. Taught me how to count good. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Besties, sort of like a fashion, sports, lifestyle, trend, video game, all-encompassing experience. This week, though, we're focusing on video games, and you know what? They're not. It's not, come a long way since Pac-Man. It's not just Pac-Man anymore.
Oh, I have missed this.
My name is Justin McElroy.
Oh no, we fucked it up though. I'm Griffin McElroy, and I know the best game of the week.
Oh, I know the best game of the week also.
My name is Chris Plante, and I know the best game of the week.
My name is Russ, and I know the game of the week.
Tight one. Guys, we found Bob Dylan. Let's get him to the Nobel Peace Prize.
It should be the best game of the year though, because this is our annual spectacular.
Our annual upending of a podcast trash can that we just put all over your feed, and we just do some real scattershot adjudication of some video games. No, for real though, where do we put this?
On the internet.
No, I know, but I feel like I don't know that this podcast feed even exists anymore. I think we're gonna have to like mail people SD cards with the podcast on it.
I have maybe 200 USB drives that I've been given by EA and Ubisoft over the year.
Yeah,
and
sure.
they come in different funny shapes. Like one's like a gun, and the other one's like a gun. And we could just send those to people in the mail.
Like a space gun.
Like one's a space gun, but one's like a earth bullet gun.
Yeah, I could see that not being the best thing to put in the mail.
No, maybe not. So what are we doing here? Why did you bring us here, Justin?
Well, I've gathered you here to discuss the games of the year. It's been a humdinger of a year in every conceivable metric, but it's actually been a good year for games, I think. Games were doing okay.
Yeah, it was in every other way it was a bumdinger, I'm gonna say. But games were all right. And
Thank you, slumdinger.
Thank you, games, for being a fun island that we can sort of jack our brains in. Boy, we really are getting to that I don't know, man. I died because I jacked into virtual reality to escape from the world, and I didn't eat for 6 days. Like we are getting there, huh?
It's getting there, huh?
It's getting there in a lot of ways, like the tech and also just the world. I just knocked over something. I don't even know what the fuck that was.
Do you think it's good that that's our only respite from the horrible world around us?
Listen, we're not going to do this.
No.
This is not what Besties is about. We're not going to get on. You know what? 2016 did its best. Okay? It let us down, but it tried, damn it.
It was its first time being a year. And
Right.
it fucked up bad, but nobody's nerfect.
Nobody's nerfect. So let's just hang in there together. David Bowie can't die twice, so 2017 is gonna be better. Okay.
I think let's talk about honorable mentions, because we're gonna do our usual dumb way of talking about video games where we do 4 rounds of our favorite games.
Yeah.
But what were some of that? And I don't even here's an idea. What if honorable mentions? I mean, let's talk mostly about games, so it could extend it to other things that you found solace in. Other things that you just really, really dug into this year. And please turn off your fucking cell phones.
Yeah, that'd be good. So I've got one for honorable mention. You ready?
Yeah.
Banana tea.
A what now?
Banana tea.
Banana.
I'm sorry, what?
Banana tea. It's a kind of tea made from bananas.
Oh, I think you're talking about a shirt.
No.
Yeah, I thought it was like a company that sells funny shirts on the internet.
No, this is tea. I don't know if you guys are aware. You can take NyQuil if you want. You can take, if you're having trouble, sleeps.
Yeah.
Ambien, variety of things.
Uh-huh.
Little do you know, the real answer is right down
banana.
your groceries aisle. bananas.
So Russ, you've been doing this fun thing lately where you've been dying. Because I don't know exactly what malaise you've been struck with, but
do you want to know?
You've had an eye.
I can tell you.
You've had an eye patch on, and that's been crazy.
Yeah, I've had shingles for the last 2 weeks.
Holy shit!
Which is 100% the worst disease that I've ever managed to adopt for myself.
Yeah,
it is horrendous. I'm not going to get too graphic.
Please
but here's
don't.
What I'm going to say.
Which side of your body is it on, Russ?
It's right just over and around my eye, my right eye.
Oh, God.
So
Yeah,
imagine,
brutal.
if you will, Ruffles potato chips, sour cream, if you will.
And we're done.
That's gonna do it for the show.
Did you
forever.
is it from did you put on a VR headset at a con?
don't-
I put on all of the VR headsets, but only after I developed it.
Good.
So you better watch out.
You don't,
Emphasis on the eye.
Typhoid Russ over here.
you don't catch it that way. The varicella zoster virus stays in your body.
You
after
do
get-
one medical history podcast with your doctor wife, and all of a sudden you got a PhD in shingles.
No, I mean, no. Actually, we did our episode this week about chickenpox and shingles, so I can make fun of Russ on the
okay.
episode.
Lovely.
Hey Russ, did you know that pain can last the rest of your life in some
Oh.
cases?
Trust me, I spent the last 2 weeks Googling all of this shit, so
Yes.
I'm well aware of how horrifying it is.
Hey.
Thankfully, the pain is mostly subsided.
For now.
Speaking of VR shingles, one of my
You know why
honorable.
it's called shingles?
Oh my God! Please no.
Did you know this?
I had a
Comes
good
from the
segue.
Latin singulus for girdle,
Okay.
because it usually wraps around a part, not your eye. Why did you do it so bad? Nobody gets it
I
on
did
their
it real
eye.
bad.
Bad job.
Hey, speaking of VR shingles, one of my honorable mentions just narrowly missed my top 4 because that's the arbitrary number that we do things here at Besties. Was Job Simulator
Oh,
for
so fun.
for the Vive.
Super fun.
And this was in my top 4, but it got just bumped off just before we started. But I did want to talk about it because holy shit, like for me, there was, and we're going to talk about this, I'm sure, a lot, because I do think it was a good year for games, but I don't know that there was that much stuff that just, like, knocked me out.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's that much stuff that, like, I've talked about this fucking every year that we've done this. Like, I love games that, like, are important to me, and I know will continue to be important to me. They're like games that are somehow unforgettable to a degree, and games that I know I will go back and play, and games that earn nostalgia. And I don't know that there were that many games that did that for me this year, but like the concept of VR for a good, and I haven't used mine in a while, so I don't necessarily think that
it was great for a week.
it wasn't even a week. It was a good, I mean, there was a good like
long weekend.
4 or 5 months there where I would just like pop in and see what was going on. Cause to me, like it was exciting, and it still is exciting. It just needs like more software support.
I had almost the exact same experience, Griffin, and I actually want to make a quick honorable mention. Do you want to talk about Job Simulator?
Well, I just wanted to say Job Simulator. Like there was one day where we were all at in New York having like a group Polygon meeting, and we'd had some beers, and we were playing Job Simulator, and I was doing like the cooking one, and people like sitting on the couch watching me play started to shout out like cocktail orders, which I would then make by like exploding an egg into like a fucking flower pot, and then using like a teacup as the top of like the shaker, and like mixing it up, and just like that game is so madcap, and it is fucking like the perfect. I think it's the perfect first game to play in VR because in terms of like interaction, that game fucking has it, and it is the funniest game released this year, even without doing like dumb shit, which like is all you want to do in VR is like throw things at the robots and do all kinds of stupid shit. Even without that layer of like user made dumbness, like that game is just like every inch of it. Is hysterical. So I wanted to bring that up as an honorable mention because
it's super.
It was so.
It's
fun.
super approachable, which I liked. Like super, like as you said, easy to get into. I definitely agree. I think it's like if you play VR, this should be the first game you play in VR. Because it doesn't make you nauseous. The graphics are like welcoming and simple, but you still like get the vibe. Like whoa, I'm in this carport or whatever. And
everything works. Like in that cooking,
right.
In the cooking one, for example, like you can cook anything basically any way, and you get stuff like you rip down the order sheet off that wheel, and you have like the piece of paper with the customer's order on it, and you think like, I wonder what happens if I put this on the griddle. It catches fucking fire, and then like you can scoop the ashes of it into the blender and like make a smoothie out of the ash. Like you can do everything, every interaction you could imagine is available in that game. It is amazing.
Totally agree.
I wanted to call out a VR experience. The main one I think that exemplifies it the best is Space Pirate Simulator, which is one of the VR games that I think like best. It's sort of like the dream of VR as a sort of immersive action kind of thing, which didn't seem like the best application for it at first, but Space Pirate Simulator has like you're using both the controllers as pistols. You can switch the kind of pistol you're using on the fly, and you're just surrounded by incoming alien ships, and it's really fun and cool, and also like a really good way of like getting active, especially once it gets a little more intense.
I had like 1 or 2 nights where I had my friends over after I got the Vive set up. And we played a bunch of stuff. We played the Audio Surf game, which I liked a lot. We played Budget Cuts demo, which is probably my favorite thing I've ever played on Vive, but it's not like a full thing yet. But the thing everybody talked about, and the thing, this was months ago, and it's the thing like, oh, we got to get over and play some more Vive so we can check out that Space Pirate Sim. Like, that is the game that everybody wants to play more of.
Hollow Point is the same way, where it's like a very immersive, it's just like a bow and arrow shooting at targets, and the targets are shooting back, and it's great. It's really good and really active. I'm curious, as long as we're talking about VR, do you guys think that it's, I mean, there was this huge crush of VR hype when it was coming out, and I think that like in a lot of ways the base experience of playing in VR really lived up to it. But for me, I'm sort of in the same boat as Griffin. Honestly, the Vive for me is such a, unless you have like a dedicated computer and room for that computer to keep it just sort of like ready to go at a moment's notice, it is like a big ask. I generally like hook it up if I know somebody's coming over who hasn't checked it out yet, like that, and that's it.
I don't think the issue is software. You guys were talking about like lack of software. For me, that's not really the issue with VR. The issue is, if I'm coming home at the end of the day, I want to relax, and VR is the opposite of that.
Yeah, I don't think it's just relaxing in the sense of it not being a peaceful experience to be in VR. Like, I do find it stressful most of the time, but also just getting it set up, which is not that much work. But I mean, there's already that difference in friction between powering on a console versus turning on your PC, and every so often having to fuss with all the technical stuff. But then adding that extra layer of making sure the Vive is working, and like y'all said, having a room ready, and then getting placement in that room. Like, I don't know. I don't have like the biggest office for this, but like it's larger than any space I ever had in New York, in the fact that it is the bare minimum of a Vive usable space, and that even when I'm in it, I'm kind of worried that I'm going to break a TV. It takes a lot for me to like want to put a headset on.
It also seems hard because of the way people are sort of intermittently using it. It seems like it's hard for a game to, like, discovery becomes an issue, because I feel like nobody has enough Vives or Rifts set up at any given time for a game to build like a real sort of like
if you haven't used it in a while and there's a game you've never heard of, are you gonna like go through the 15 minutes to like plug everything in?
And I'm coming from the, like, I really enjoyed the time I spent with the Vive, but I'm also coming from an extremely privileged point of having the Steam Press account, where like a lot of these experiences aren't great, and even the ones that are really good are typically it's still pretty anemic. It's just like cool that they pull off what they pull off in these VR environments. I don't want to pay fucking $40 for that. Like, I don't. Yeah. I just don't. That's the reason, honestly, why I didn't invest in the PlayStation VR. I had one pre-ordered for months. I put in the pre-order basically as soon as it went up. And I read the reviews, and it sounds neat, but like, I don't want to spend fucking, a bunch of money playing battle tanks or rigs or whatever. Like, cause they may be good, but I don't necessarily want to spend a bunch of money on these experiences that are. I can think of maybe one or two, like Job Simulator, definitely worth the money. Windlands, I really dug. But like, yeah, it's a lot to ask. It's a lot to ask for like these unproven experiences.
Well, and there's a lot of experiences too. Like there's a Forgotten Realms game on there that's a sword and sorcery kind of deal. And once you get past the novelty of like, oh, this is how you did like a sword and shield. That's cool. I'm swinging a sword. Wow! Check me out, everybody. Hey, honey, come in here. Look at me. I'm swinging a sword.
Okay,
Please
hold
watch.
on.
What? Once you get past all that, you realize the game itself is like the most base, like,
sure.
It seems like a game that like like if Chex wanted to release a licensed sequel to its game, like it seems like something that kind of Captain Crunch demo disc that comes in the box. It's like Crunch Raiders or something. It's like the most basic.
Yeah. The stuff that like gives me hope for it though is stuff like Windlands, which I was just Googling them. Apparently they're in a spot of trouble because somebody made like a tutorial video about how to program grappling hooks, stuff like that, and they filed a DCMA request according to the like hundreds of negative Steam reviews. The thing that gives me hope is like games like that where you just have a huge, beautiful world to explore. I played the Windlands demo on the fucking DK2 before I got my hands on the Vive, like a lot. Like I beat it multiple times just because like it was cool to be in the big worlds. And games like Rec Room, where you have like these big worlds to explore, but also like a social lair, like that shit does me so right in like a Snow Crash like way. Justin and I, weirdly enough, spent a lot of time playing Second Life this year, and a version of that is good, and also on VR. Like I'm gonna play that a lot. I think I'm probably gonna get very, very into that. Like there's still something to be said for, yes, it can be a pain to set it up, and there's some issues with the hardware still, and it's a lot to ask from a price perspective, both for software and hardware. But there is something to be said, like it's to be plug into like a virtual world and have it just fucking work. Is spectacular.
I don't want to spend too much time talking about VR. I do want to ask you, Griffin, one question before we move on. Have you considered, given that we're about a month out, have you considered exclusively having your child raised within VR?
I've thought about it, like doing a fun pod.
Because Justin already blew it. He missed his window.
Yeah, she's seen the outside.
Yeah.
I just don't want my baby to get shingles. That's it.
That's fair.
Yeah,
fair.
It's a huge issue.
Very unsafe.
Any other honorable mentions?
Frushtick, Plante, you guys?
Yeah, I wanted to mention real quick COD Infinite Warfare, which is like has fine multiplayer and fine zombies. The campaign is pretty excellent from a writing standpoint, like surprisingly so. They brought in some Naughty Dog people and wrote like an actual story with actual characters. I love
that. We need story. Get the story ones.
Anybody look for somebody with glasses.
Get either the Telltale ones or the Naughty Dog ones.
Yeah, get somebody with a goatee in here to write a story.
They didn't have to, is what I would say.
Do you know the phone number for BioWare? Anyone?
It doesn't seem to have helped their sales much, because it seems like the interest in sales for Infinite Warfare have been pretty anemic in comparison to normal.
Yeah.
But it is a really excellent story, and I did want to give them props for putting that effort in.
I may have to get there eventually.
If you decide to play this, here's a pro tip from me. Put it on the easiest setting possible. In sprint. Like, don't even shoot at anything. Just sprint.
That's a fun way to do
for
it.
The first 15 to 20 minutes, because it's miserable.
Yeah, the beginning is not great.
Yeah, it's real bad. It's really, really bad. And then it gets, like, pretty solid. But, yeah, it straight up literally sprint past the opening of the game.
Crisp, do you have any hot HMs?
Yeah, I'm going to say Steep. Only because it's not out yet, so I feel bad that it's not here.
There's a few of those, right? Like Final Fantasy 15. We're recording this. It is November 21st when we're recording this, so there's just some stuff that we aren't.
What is it? The little like dog dragon game?
Oh yeah, Last Guardian. Shit.
Yeah, Last Guardian.
Much like the real video game awards, we are going off an incomplete list. Steep. The beta has been, I guess, going a few different times throughout the past month, and it's great. I mean, I love SSX, and what I love best about those games is like not being competitive and just ambling down a mountain.
Yeah.
And they essentially made that into a game. They made a giant mountain, and I don't know if you like it's like very nitty gritty, but Ubisoft has this whole idea where they're gonna stop making story and missions in video games, which we'll see.
What?
Yeah, they've
Based on,
talked.
wait,
Yeah, this is for real. It's on Polygon.com. Okay.
Never heard.
Interesting.
Yeah. But they've talked about how, like, with Assassin's Creed, especially the next one, they want to get away from traditional story and basically create a world, and then the players create anecdotes within it. And Steep is actually the first example of that, in that there's very little game.
That just means they couldn't find any Naughty Dog guys. We couldn't get the Telltale. The phone was busy.
Now we're stuck with the anecdotes. But you basically are able to create missions super, super easily, and then just pick at other people's stuff. It's smart. I don't know if it'll
do
work.
that. I don't want to make it. I don't want to play other.
You don't have to, because
I don't
like
want
a
to
million
make.
people will make things for you, and then in theory they'll only the good
I
stuff
think
will
it's
rise.
just because I
That's
want
the
to
idea.
finish a game. Like I just want to finish it. Let me know when it's over, please.
You're part of
I
the
just wanna be done
old
with
the
it.
old guard. There aren't people like you anymore.
I also want to say that Pokemon Sun and Moon is in my honorable mentions, and it's just because I haven't played that much of it. It only came out. I got it like a few days early, so I haven't had it that long. But not only that, I did this Nuzlocke video series for Pokemon Y that I kind of had to burn through in the last like month or so to prep for the month of December when I'll be out. And so I'm just so Poke burned out right now. And I started, and Pokemon Sun and Moon, I think, actually has a pretty slow start. And it's also like, here's how Pokeballs work. And it's like, fuck, dude, come on. But I really liked what I've played so far. I just haven't really spent too much time with it.
I put in like 6 hours before my eyes stopped working.
Oh, no.
And it seemed it was cool to like be in an environment that was like not, I guess, a normal, like it was a Hawaiian inspired
the worlds are
situation.
very big, and like there's a lot of like detail to them. It's not like here's a town with a single fucking house in it. The aesthetic is super on point, and there's some really nice quality of life upgrades, and it also shakes out of the like there's 8 gyms you have to get through format, but
Now there's 4.
well, no, there's like a bunch of little trials that mix up the gameplay a bit that are cool.
It's
but...
the same fucking game. Let's face it.
Okay, that's fine.
I see the words Mini Metro on here. Who put that? And
I
say
put
one
that
thing
on
about
there.
it.
It just got released on iPad and iPhone.
wanna-
It is a
Ooh.
really good.
I didn't
mobile
know
game.
that.
What is it?
I thought it was just on
It's a-
Steam.
Yeah, it's been on Steam for a while, but it just got released on mobile, and it is just like so choice.
Is it like Doomsday Clicker? Because that's all I care about right now.
No, it's nothing like a stupid clicking
Is it
game that
anything
takes
like Clear
50
Heroes?
hours to do stuff.
God, give me some
No,
idea.
it's not. It's a really great strategy
some
game where
click
you're
like your
basically
bullets.
building out. You done, Justin?
When you click on,
What do you click on though?
You click on subway stations and connect subway stations to other subway stations, and then you make your own procedurally generated subway map across the cities of the world.
great. Okay.
Nerd.
It uses really cool art design and audio design.
Oh, it's the music is by
Disaster Piece. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, this is the year that Russ and I got really into SimCity Build It on iPhone.
Oh my
in
God.
case anybody
Yeah, that
wants to
game came
talk
out a year and a
about
half
that.
ago.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I picked it up, and then I knew Justin would be addicted to it, so I got him addicted to it,
fuck
and
is
now
wrong
all
with
we
you
play is
guys?
that
It's
stupid
It's really,
game.
it's actually very good. I know
It
it's
is.
miserable, and you have to. Russ literally had to send me a guide of how to have fun with SimCity Build It. But like once he taught, and it turns out the answer is like grinding more than the game wants you to. Because if you go
there
too
new-
fast, you ruin it for yourself.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck.
It's fun.
Oh,
it's really
guys.
good. What?
Also, my honorable mentions is Uncharted 4. I just realized it's not on any of our lists. That
Oh,
was a
okay.
fucking
Yeah.
great
4
game.
was okay.
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought it was really good. It just there was other stuff I liked more.
It was just too. I
Good.
think that it was too long. It was just too much. Like I wanted it to be over several times, and it just wasn't. It just
Also,
kept-
story is the past, anecdotes are the future.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
Yeah, there weren't
Yeah,
enough
yeah.
anecdotes.
I just wanted him to say like, "Here's 100 vines. What do you think the story is?" You figure it out. Okay, I'm cutting this off. I'm moving us into the first round of
Yes.
battle. Should we go through and introduce our titles individually? Griffin, McElroy, you go first.
I mean, I don't think
No,
we need
we
to
should
like
just
set it all
do
up.
one. Do Griffins, and
I'll,
we'll talk
I'll
about
start.
it, and
I'll
then
start
we'll
with mine because there's
go around.
almost a good transition here. Because it also has fucking excellent, like, soundtrack of the year scored by Disasterpiece. Who, guys, like, sometimes Disasterpiece has a Spotify channel. I'll just get on that and just go buck wild. He is the best dude in the fucking game right now.
Yeah, he's very good.
So, my game is Hyper Light Drifter. Hyper Light Drifter is a top-down action sort of RPG that is very, very, very punishing.
Yeah.
It has this pixelized aesthetic that is like unlike anything I've ever seen in a game. It has this like really sharp sort of neon aesthetic. And the control scheme is actually fairly limited. You have like a dash dodge button. You have a sword that you can attack with, and you have a shoot button, and you can find and upgrade different guns throughout the game. There are hidden collectibles hidden all over that you can pick up and then purchase new skills. But like ultimately, the skill set is pretty limited. Like you dash around and you dodge enemy attacks and you shoot at enemies and you use your sword to take them out. You only have like sort of going in line with that very minimalist aesthetic. You only have, I think, like 5 hit points. And it is very easy to just like get hit a couple of times by enemies and then you're dead. So it is very much a game about going into a room and trying to find the right pattern to get through that room, which means you're going to die a lot. Like any given battle, if it gets too crazy, you might die a dozen or so times in, but on that 13th time, you are going to pull off this fucking awesome ballet of shooting and dodging and like reflecting enemies' attacks with like the perfect timed sword swing. Like every inch of the game, I like the only thing I can think of, and I think it even does it better than Hotline Miami did it in that same way. Where, like,
I was going to say,
Miami,
I mean, it does feel a lot like Hotline Miami in the sense that you're constantly repeating the same room.
But there's a little bit I think it's even slicker than Hotline Miami, because Hotline Miami, like, you grab a gun and you shoot it and it runs out of ammo and you throw it at a guy to knock him out and run up and kick.
Yeah.
Like, but at the same time, like, you're only doing 3 things, but you're doing them like in really fucking really hip sequence. Like, Hyper Light Drifter does that also, but I think it does it better. Not only that, it has some of the hardest ass boss fights in a game released this year. And so we're going to talk about somebody has Dark Souls on here later, and like usually I rely on that franchise for like, fuck yeah, I beat that boss I've been trying to get for so long. And I got that more from Hyper Light Drifter than I did from Dark Souls 3. There's one boss in particular, which if you've played the game, you'll remember, is like this bird wizard guy that is just nonstop. Like, you have to be perfect for like 2 minutes, 2 straight minutes of perfect inputs and dodges and attacks and counters. And like, it took me a good 50 tries to take him down. And when I did, like, that's probably my most satisfying moment of playing a video game this year. So like, I think it is just a perfect game. Like, it is the design and aesthetic and
it also
music
looks super gorgeous. You haven't really gone into the visuals, but graphically very, very pretty.
Very, very pretty, and the music like is perfect. And then like, while you play it the whole time, you feel like just this awesome badass. And also it has this weird, overwhelming sense of like kind of sadness that goes through the whole thing. Like, the whole time you are like, your character is stopping and like falling to their knees and like coughing up blood, and it's like the storyline is very abstract and very open to interpretation, but the whole time there's this sense of like dread that kind of overwhelms the whole thing, which is like also kind of a unique thing.
Kind of reminded me of the tone of like Sword and Sorcery.
Yes,
like that
level. Sure. And also I think they just updated it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it also has co-op now, which I could see being really fun. I've already gone back and started replaying it because there's some New Games Plus options, but my favorite shit now is the speedrun community game for that game is insane. because one of the techniques that you pick up is like skiing, where you dash and you have to chain your dash, but to chain it, like you have to hit the dash button in perfect sequence, like right after. And so there's people who are speedrunning it, trying to keep this perfect chain of dashes going throughout the whole game. And it is like nuts to watch that shit. So yeah, that's Hyper Light Drifter. I know there was a lot of criticism of the game that it was like too punishing to the point of being fairly exclusive, and I totally get that. But like, I'm into that. I really am into that if it's fair and well designed, and I think Hyper Light Drifter absolutely is.
Next up, Russ Frushtick.
Wow, we're not going to talk about it? Nobody else wants
No,
We
I
got to
did
move faster. We just went 10 minutes. If we average this speed, it's going to be a 5-hour long podcast, and I'd sooner die.
People
fine
love
with
that.
Who else
literally
played it?
die.
That's all I want to know.
I'd rather die.
Yeah, I played it. I only spent about an hour with it, but I really enjoyed what I played.
I did about the same, and I wish I had the stomach for that level of difficulty, but
Well,
just
Chris, why don't you come over?
don't.
We'll get on PS4 or something. We'll co-op it.
That'd be good, because then you can like just do it for. It's kind of like when I first played Spelunky with Frushtick, and he just killed me and
just
carried
did it.
me
He
through.
just-
I
Yeah, that's sweet.
carried his corpse through to hell. It was
That was
fantastic.
pretty good. That wasn't fun.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I played it. I really liked everything about it, but the I hear that anymore, and like I don't have as much free time as I used to, and I want to try to play as much as I can, and I see something like that, I was just like, okay,
Sure.
that's gonna have to be one that falls by the wayside.
But
Yeah,
see,
to
I would
get all those
rather have
tropes.
that where it's a game where I know there's going to be parts I have to bang my head against, over, and I don't know that any of these I don't think so. Over a fucking open world game where it's like it's an endless experience. Go run to this house. It looks like the other houses, but this one's got a bone in it. Like I would much rather have a game that like can be finished.
But will you have the stomach to finish it? Is I think what Justin's saying.
Yeah, sure,
It's
I
like,
get it.
we
I
can
get
do
it.
these
know
kinds
he's
of
capable
comparisons
it
though. Let's
with
at least
his
introduce the titles in this
overhands.
round, and then
Yeah, sure.
we'll compare and contrast.
Russ Frushtick, you want to go next because you're next on this list.
Sure, I did this randomly. So my game for this round is Overwatch.
Man, what a good fucking game.
That is
Yeah.
a wicked game.
I feel bad for everything in this round
I know.
because that's
It's
a big
weird.
one.
You know, Overwatch reminds me. Maybe it's not weird because it's the same company, but Overwatch reminds me a lot when Hearthstone came out, which is to say, you have this company, Blizzard, that comes in and is like, oh, you guys have been doing, cooperative, team-based shooters for a little while. How's that working for you? Let's just blow this whole genre up
ever did.
Yeah.
and just like drop a nuke on it and leave everyone else crying. It's really Overwatch. In case you haven't played it, is a team-based, cooperative, class-based game where you battle against another team using different classes. So you'll have like the turret-building guy or the shield-wielding guy, and basically synergize with other players and use each other's skills to sort of give you an edge over the other team.
I don't like a lot of team-based games,
Yeah.
and I don't play them a lot. The difference with Overwatch and the thing that's so interesting is like I had buddies who played Overwatch a lot, and I kind of just got back into it to play with them, and I thought like, well, this is going to be great. I'll just be a drag on the team forever. The really interesting thing about Overwatch is because the characters are so sort of different, if you can get smart about a character or two and figure out some things that work, you can help your team right away.
Yeah.
Especially there's healer classes, which I love and I wish every game had, because like when your skills aren't very good, like it's really nice to be able to prop up the people who know what they're doing as just like your job. My job is to help this person who seems to know what they're doing. And that's really cool, and a really cool way to sort of like get your feet wet. And then eventually you get bored with it and you're like, okay, I'm going to try shooting somebody. But like that's it, and it's not just like there's a turret building guy. Like I'm not great at aiming. Like in a one-on-one with most people, I'm gonna lose because I don't have the reflexes or I'm just not very good. But I can build a turret in a really annoying place that I know will be devastating.
Yeah.
And really help the team.
So many games like talk about like you can play this game and you'll be good at it even if you're not a shooter guy because there's other stuff you can do. And it's like, okay, well, let's check it out. And you hop in and it's like, there's this one guy that builds a turret and there's one guy that drops med packs. Okay, all right. And that's fucking it. Like Overwatch is the first game that actually follows through with that because there's not just like the medic, there's the medic that you don't even need to point a fucking heal gun at somebody. You just produce dubstep
You just chill.
that heals them. you don't have to be good at Overwatch to be good at Overwatch. You just have to be good at Reinhardt, right? Like you just have to. If you can't aim for shit, that's fine. You just have to know what your hero does and play that hero, and that's it. That's it.
And
You've
it's a
done
shooter where like half of the characters do not require you to be good at shooting, which
Yeah.
is that's the big thing. Is like it's so often that like as you said, there's only one or two that are like support classes. Here, it's basically like half. And granted, like there are experts and stuff like that will totally crush you into oblivion. But the fact that I can hop on with my friends that are like prestige level 10 and still be an asset is like a huge thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a healer who's sort of who can go into a room with their super ability. Like the first time you play, if your entire team gets wiped out and you're near them, you can use that super ability and bring your entire team back
and win the
change
game. That's like
flow of the
devastating to come back from. Yeah. I've been getting into Ana lately because I haven't played so much recently. I only just picked it back up because I got it on PS4 where I was like level 2 or something like that. And like Ana is a sniper who shoots harm bullets at enemies and healing bullets at friends. And like there's this dichotomy to everything she does like that is like, it's so fucking genius. It's so smart.
It's even smart in the way it does unlocks, because unlocks in this game are stupid and dumb. No,
Yeah.
I the more you think about it, the more it makes sense. Because like, I don't feel bad about not like the fun in Overwatch really is its own reward. And I think that like that takes a lot of confidence to say like you're not playing this to like a lot of times if I'm playing Titanfall, eventually, for example, and we'll talk about this later, but like I would apply this to a lot of first-person shooters with unlockable tiers of gear. Eventually, I'm just like, well, at least I can like level up this gun while I'm playing. Like, we're not going to win this match, whatever. I'll just focus on trying to do this dumb thing to unlock this one weapon or whatever.
Sure.
With Overwatch, there's really no like reward other than winning the game. So like, there's no reason to think about other stuff other than I'm going to win this match. Like that has to be its own reward, and that's an act of confidence.
I kind of disagree because I feel like
Yeah,
the reason I fell off is just like, I think it just misses the mark on the progression loop, because I think it could even have the progression loop it has now, but I feel like leveling up takes way too fucking long. Like I'm playing now on PS4 and I mostly played on PC where I had a bunch of cool stuff unlocked, but PS4 was where all my friends are playing, so I was like, oh, I'll hop in. And it's like, it shouldn't take me like 6 or 7 matches to unlock level fucking 7 and then get 4, fucking sprays that I'm not
right.
gonna, like.
That's
the
not issue with the progression right now, and I said this in the review, is that 90% of the stuff you get in the boxes is kind of trash and you don't really want it.
Like sprays and voice lines. Oh
and
boy,
it's a major problem. Like, say what you will about Call of Duty, no one does rewarding the player better for playing the game better than Call of Duty. You have dozens of gun camos and emblems and stuff to work. Like, you're constantly being rewarded with stuff. And Overwatch, awesome game, much better game than Call of Duty has been in the last few years. But there is not that draw to be like, I want to play one more game, because leveling up for me is not enough of an encouragement, because the things you get from leveling up are just not that good.
Yeah, I mean, I would throw a wrench in that with Call of Duty to say that my biggest beef with Call of Duty each year is some, teenagers who have all the time in the world hop on and they rank up and they get better weapons. And the idea that, like, you are immediately put at a disadvantage when you start playing a game is the least appealing.
But I think
I was really just talking about cosmetics.
Yeah,
Sure,
I think
sure.
the rewards in Overwatch are great. I'm just saying the way they hand them out is not good. But I also think it is a testament to Overwatch that like that progression loop is basically the only reason why I have played shooters over the past like 3 or 4 years. It is why I got so deep into Destiny. And it's why, like, I think I even said on this podcast, like, if I'm going to play a shooter, I want to play the one where I can, like, go trick-or-treating and shoot enemies and get candy for that I can use on masks that I can wear over the next few years. Like,
Yeah.
It is a testament to Overwatch that it does a bad job by that, but I still, like, want to fucking play it all the time.
I want to move on, but I do want to just circle back around to the honorable mentions and say that Destiny is still a very
good and fun game.
Good video game.
Yes.
And the new expansion is a reason to play Destiny, which is all I need from an expansion.
It's not a great reason to play Destiny.
It's not a great reason to play
but
Destiny.
it's
an okay reason to play Destiny. It's a fucking
Get this,
great
guys.
game. There's never been a better time.
Here's what they
to
added.
Get into Destiny.
Some of the enemies are red this time, and
They glow.
they glow.
Oh God.
No, there is a Mad Max style like amazing.
Yeah, the
mecha
raid is
tank.
good. Just make raids.
The raid is very good.
Just
yeah,
keep
they should
making raids.
I'd be totally cool with them spending 2 years
And
making a raid.
Institute matching and raids. That's all I want from Destiny 2. Anyway, I'm gonna talk about my game. Super hot.
Super hot.
Super hot. Griffin talked earlier about like new experiences in games, and like I would go to the mat for the mechanic of Superhot, which is so genius that it basically carries the entire game. And it's just this, and it's one of those things that's easier to see in action than actually try, but it's basically this: time slows to a crawl unless you are moving. So like it's sort of the best way I can describe it is like if a bullet ballet is sort of like John Woo style thing, what you don't think about is the speed at which the person has to be thinking in order to pull off the stuff in those. And what this does is instead of slowing down the action, it slows down the things between the action to let you actually like think through a situation that you by all rights should not be able to think through. So you like have the time to, oh, there's something on the ground that I could grab. There's a gun coming at me. I could grab that and throw it at a person and then turn around and I'm going to shoot the guy behind me and then I'm going to catch his gun in midair and then shoot the guy behind me. It's really, 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 and it's so simplistic graphically. Although it does it definitely like it that belies a definite like perspective on its aesthetics, and it is trying to get something across to those, but it never lets it get in the way of this like core experience, which is when it works is so thrilling and so sort of exciting. It makes you feel like what it must be like to be a speedrunner who knows a game inside and out, except it sort of gives you a leg up into that sort of that insight without actually, investing the time that
it's basically like
require.
You are John Wick.
Sure.
Yeah,
You have the reflexes of John Wick, and you compare that to like we're going to talk about it later, obviously, because it's going to be, I think, very high up on our list. Doom, you do amazing things, and you feel like a god, and it feels cool and super. But if there was a camera in the corner of the room looking down at you, you'd look like a dumbass.
Yeah,
you'd essentially like
ridiculous.
you'd be bouncing around like an idiot, shooting rockets, missing half your shots, feeling like a dumbass. And Superhot, even though it's taking place at a very slow pace when you're not moving, effectively the actions that you are making are so precise and so badass that like it really like it makes you feel like John Wick.
And you mentioned the simplistic aesthetic. That is true, but it also has the best death animations of any game, which is to say they just go. They just shatter.
Yeah.
That is good shit.
Justin, did you get to play it in VR?
I have not.
So-
How is that?
I honestly have not played it. I just read one of her writers, Addie, says it's the best thing in VR.
Damn, I bet that'd be hot.
I feels like it was designed for it from the beginning, because so much of the story is about like it's not a spoiler to say what happens to you in VR, is it?
I don't think so.
It's I believe it's early in the game, but there's a moment where you essentially fast forward 15 seconds, kill yourself while you're playing the game in VR, which felt like it was like, oh, this is what the game was made for.
Yeah,
and then they shipped it ahead of time because Oculus Touch got bumped however many months. And there's like all of this VR language in it. So I just got the Touch controllers. I'm super excited to replay this game because
Is it on Vive as well, or is it just Rift?
I'm not sure. My guess is it would be on Vive unless Oculus paid for some timed exclusive stuff. But it feels great with a mouse and keyboard or controller. But it really does feel like it was designed for VR, especially because since you move so slowly, it feels like an answer to that kind of problem with so many other like Twitch shooters when you throw them in VR.
It's so rare anymore that I'm sad when a game ends. A lot of times I'm like, oh, cool, I've had that experience. I want to move on. Like, Superhot is the first one where I thought, like, I could play another, like, twice as long of this and still be way, way, way deep in
I felt
into
that
these
about
mechanics.
so many, like, indie games like this year. I was like, oh, man, I wish this was fucking 15 hours longer. And I played a lot of games this year. I was like, wow, I wish this was 15 hours shorter. I wish I could have taken 15 hours off this game and added it to fucking Quadrilateral Cowboy.
Chris Plant, Battle. Let's hear about your game.
Talking
Whatever
about
game
big
that might be.
games,
I spoiled the first half of it. Now you get to reveal the thrilling second half.
Battleborn.
Oh my gosh, that's sad. Battlefield 1. I love flashy blockbuster shooters, and I think this one was the best one of the year. It's Battlefield, but in World War One, and the story actually works, and the multiplayer works. Basically, they were like, hey, let's make a Battlefield game, but it works when you buy it, which was a real
It's a fun
improvement.
idea. It's a fun proposition.
Yeah, it's a great idea. And I think what I really dig about it too is I just can't compete in the twitchy shooters anymore, and everything about it is slower. It feels like the early Battlefield games, and that means, like, because it's World War One, the planes like kind of sputter across the sky, and you actually have a chance to aim.
This is
without
it's
being,
the
like,
best plane. It's the best like flight this franchise has ever. Like, they're on some Crimson Sky shit. Like, I love.
Yeah, it feels great.
The flying chapter of the campaign was like my favorite.
Also, I am sure it drove lots of people crazy. I think Arthur called it out in y'all's review, but it is so generous to snipers, and I never really loved that class that much, and I totally fell head over heels for playing sniper in Battlefield 1 from the beginning. I mean, even without a fancy scope, you just feel like a hotshot who uses rinky-dink rifles to pick people off from hundreds of yards away. And it adds like a novel thing of being able to adjust your range on even elementary rifles. It just feels like there's so many tiny details in every moment that feels so fresh. And I mean, Frush mentioned Infinite Warfare, and it was really a struggle for me to go back to that game after playing Battlefield, where it feels like I'm in these giant realistic spaces where I'm like always having to figure out what is and isn't cover. I'm, hiding in one building knowing that it'll be torn down, and I'm using all these vehicles for different purposes at different scenarios. And then to go back to COD, which is like static walls inside it feels like generic paintball.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think first-person shooters, like campaigns, have to do nowadays is have these like big set pieces that feel really unique and custom, like stuff you're not going to come across in like a multiplayer type situation. But like Battlefield 1 has a couple where it's you assume you're about to watch a cutscene because there's like no way that I'm about to get onto a blimp that is destroying itself and like fight my way through a collapsing blimp. That's not going to happen, right?
Or the fucking bird. Little in the
yeah,
bird.
yeah, for sure. Like, yeah. Or, there's no way you're going to make me be a carrier pigeon, right? No. You're the carrier pigeon,
definitely.
too.
I also,
They so totally figured it out in terms of their single-player campaigns have always been weak. Everybody's always loved their multiplayer for being big and having these destructive environments and having all these vehicles. And they finally just figured out, like, oh, just do that for single-player. Just giant maps, and each mini campaign is its own emphasis on a vehicle that you're going to use in multiplayer. You feel better trained when you do hop in multiplayer, and it hits all those same strong notes that for whatever reason the campaigns just refuse to acknowledge in the past.
The mini campaigns is brilliant, by the way. Like, what a brilliant, smart, like, way
Well, it's funny because they basically are admitting, like, yeah, we can't make a compelling story about one character for 10 hours.
well, that's
so
a huge ask, right?
Oh, 100%.
But it's not. I don't
100%.
even think of it like a cop out, because by
No, I
doing
don't
this, they
think
were
it's a
able to like
negative.
showcase the different theaters of war. They were able to showcase like different stories of what it was like to fight in those different theaters. Each one was based around like different gameplay mechanics. Like,
Yeah.
it's
which is
fucking
really
brilliant.
smart to get you
and it
invested
matched-
for the multiplayer, to get you trained up.
Right. It matched multiplayer gameplay, which they haven't done. Well, Battlefield campaigns have been universally bad until this one.
Yeah.
And the big one, the big reason they're usually bad is because the gameplay is like stupid and does not match the gameplay of multiplayer. And here, in addition to being like good story and like good writing and stuff like that and visually amazing, you're doing the things that you will be doing in multiplayer with the level of like same controls, same accuracy required, stuff like that. So suddenly in multiplayer, I mean, it's easier obviously in the campaign, but still you feel trained up.
It also had
great.
It also had some of the tightest stealth mechanics of any game I played this year, and I say that playing Dishonored 2 right now. Like it actually had some really, like, I found it totally doable to sneak through the missions that you had the option to sneak through using a fairly limited like tool set, but like the feedback that you get and the like way that the UI handles stealth, like it was good.
I want to hit one mission really quick before we like decide on this, but there's a mission where you are going through, I think you're somewhere in France and it's under the cover of night. You're going up into these windmills, climbing to the top, grabbing a sniper rifle and picking off a few people, then moving to the next area, climbing the windmill, doing that. And on the third windmill or so, and I'm sure this happens to everybody because they've designed it for this to work, you fire the weapon, it alerts the guards, and a tank or a mortar weapon turns and aims and fires directly into your station in the windmill and brings it down on top of you. And it was such a great moment of playing with your expectations of, again, static architecture in these types of games, where it's like, oh, well, I go up here and, like, they shoot at me and I have the advantage. Not like, oh, any building I'm in is fragile and could be used to essentially kill me.
No, that's what I call a battlefield moment.
The thing I would say, the only thing that I found frustrating for the multiplayer, even though I think it is well designed, is this move, and this is consistent across almost all games except for maybe Titanfall, which has moved in the other direction. This move towards more players equals better. I think Battlefield multiplayer gameplay has gotten worse the more players they've added to it, personally, because you get the impression that your level of impact is pretty minimal in comparison to the overall map. So if you're one of 32 players on your team, the level that you can like turn the tide of battle is pretty limited. Whereas if you were one of 12, your squad made up like a third of the entire team, so you could really make a big difference.
That's why I played Rush almost exclusively.
Yeah,
like it felt like
Rush is more focused and better. But I miss Conquest is like by far my favorite mode because it allows you that level of freedom. But you would just run into these moments where it's like, oh, here's 16 people at this base and 16 people at this base, and it's just like very frustrating.
All right, boyos, round one. What's the winner?
Okay.
I mean, it's Overwatch, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think we all really liked our.
For any of these other than Overwatch, I like. Mechanically,
I think they're all really good games.
Yeah, like they're all really interesting. I just think that like Overwatch is sort of undeniable.
Yeah, it is the best game in its genre, and it is masterfully made, and that's kind of hard to.
And we should also say, like, everything that we're deciding here is actually very scientific and 100% accurate and right. So if you happen to disagree, it turns out you're actually wrong.
We should also put down our blanket. This is not Polygon's Game of the Year.
No, it isn't.
It isn't. That's a separate thing.
It's really no one's Game of the Year.
Yeah, hopefully this is self-evident at this point.
Round two. Who wants to start this time? Because I don't.
I'll start. Oh, go ahead, Russ.
Okay.
You have
my round two game.
Oh, Jesus.
I caught a lot of shit for adding this.
Yeah, I wonder why.
You caught a lot of shingles? Is that what you said?
I caught a lot of shingles in my eye, Ruffles potato chips in my eye for picking this game. And that game is Pokemon Go.
I support you. I
support the shingles. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, this is a fantastic inclusion.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to say about Pokemon Go. As a game, if you were playing this game without the Pokemon franchise...
I'm going to assume you're doing air quotes every time you say game. Go on.
Just as an experience that you're playing on your phone, it's not a very good game. It's okay.
What?
It's not very good. But there's something to be said for, and the way I remember like the memorable moments in my life of playing video games are these memories that I have of playing that game and what that game caused me to feel and do while I was playing it. And I have very vivid memories of playing Pokemon Go, whether it's running around Bryant Park because there's a rash of Growlithe appearing, whether it's having a minor spat with my wife and then us making up and going out and catching a Chansey in the middle of Forest Hills, Queens. There are like these moments that you have, like the fact that I could walk into a park, and I realize you guys, all three of you, live in the sticks, so Pokemon Go is not, unfortunately, playable where you guys live. Even though you live in Austin, Texas, which is, quote, a city.
Oh, wow.
Man.
It really just was not really designed to work super well in anything apart from like New York or London or San Francisco. But the level at which like our society was changed by Pokemon Go for a month, it wasn't long, it was a month, it was by far the most impactful game, I would say, of the last 30 years in terms of how much it changed the way society worked for a brief period of time.
In a bad way, right? You're saying
it's like it
Not
was
in a great
impactful,
way.
like how 14th century Europe was affected by the bubonic plague. Like
No,
it
it
was
wasn't in a
very
great way, but I think in a fascinating way, in a way that like brought people together, which is, I think, a really good thing.
Russ mentioned this game in terms of its societal impact, and I feel like that makes it a fair metric by which to judge it. I personally think that what Pokemon Go represents is a bad thing for society. Since he is saying it that way, I'm going to address it that way. It's bad. I watched and this is not to cast shade on anybody, because God knows I've done some unhealthy things regarding my phone. But like, we were in Boston to do a live show there, and I watched my brothers, my dear brothers, and my beloved sister-in-law like walk past places where like America was founded basically to like get a Clefairy. And it's like, I appreciate that it got some people out of their houses. The fact that you need Pokemon to get you out of your house kind of depresses me a little bit. And I realize how Jack Thompson I'm sounding, so please don't with me. But like, when you're out in the world's great. Like, I don't feel like it's healthy to have this added layer of like, but what if there was Pokemon? There aren't. So please, like, look at the shit that is real and around you. Like, please, it's so rare for anybody to be outside their house. Like, can we just try
I want to hop on that, because I think that's like bad. like you talk about like walking around Boston, right? Like, people walk around Boston all day, every day, ignoring that stuff. And like, this was
But
they live there.
at least in
Like,
the game.
they live there. They're not there
No,
for
but I'm saying,
2 days.
but if you go to Boston, like, come on, like, no, it's not like you're walking around being like, and let's take 5 minutes to really ponder on this piece of
It's
the
just
founding
as an
of our
example. They
nation.
weren't talking to people. They weren't interacting with the world around them. They were like,
We were talking. We were like,
just
dude,
don't-
I just got a Raichu. Did you get that Raichu?
Yeah,
I got that Raichu. Tight.
I had a totally opposite experience in that, like, when I was in New York for work and I was playing this game, there were so many historical things I had no idea about, areas that I lived for 10 years.
I think
on top of that, I talked to so many people.
Yeah.
I was yelling at New York Times employees while I was taking over their gym.
It's disingenuous to say that this was an antisocial experience. It was the opposite. And that was the cool thing that it pulled off. My beef is not like that it distracts you from the real world or whatever. Because I walked around parts of Boston I've never been to before, and it was just to play this game. And you can say like, oh, well, you weren't looking at this. That's fine. I wasn't looking at the stuff. Maybe I wasn't stopping to smell the bushes, but like, I was in places I've never been before, and it was because of this game. My beef is that it could have been fucking incredible. It could have been a fucking incredible game.
Yeah, imagine if Pokemon Go had been fun.
If it had been fucking Pokemon in any other sense, you cannot. I tried to beat one gym, and I did it, and I was like, this gameplay fucking sucks. If I had 4 moves that I could customize and then go out and do battle with these Pokemon that I catch, I would play this game for the rest of my life. It would be my game of the year hands down, but it's not. It fucking sucks.
Okay, so I fully acknowledge the game, especially the gym stuff, is like really
Awful.
not good. But I would say that the simplicity of the rest of the game is why it became the thing that it became, which is to say it did not require you to know anything about Pokemon. there was like
Yeah.
a very minimal amount of anything. Like you just need to know, oh, I have enough Pokeballs to throw Pokeballs at Clefairy.
This is not a one-for-one comparison, but it reminds me so much of Wii Sports in that way. And that, like, yeah, Wii Sports could have been a great bowling and tennis game, but it worked for what it was, and it became, like, a thing because of its simplicity and because of its gimmick, and it, like, just completely consumed society. Wii Sports was, hands down, a better designed game. So it doesn't quite work. I think...
game.
God, go ahead.
I'm just grousing. I can't like sit here and say, oh, this game's stupid, because I played it. Like I did play it, but I'll never forget the first time I finally hit the level that you needed to be to challenge a gym, and I finally had a Pokemon. That the leveling mechanic is also straight dookie.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
The fact that you like sit there and have to like destroy Pidgeys to get candy is like some straight up like year one vanilla Destiny bullshit.
And it's still in.
And it's still there.
Crazy.
It's still the only way to do it. But I'll remember, like, I did it. I put in the work because I wanted to get to that next gameplay layer. And I'll never forget the first time I fought a gym. And I was like, this is seriously it? This is it?
Yeah.
Like, it was so heartbreaking.
The weirdest thing about it is how easy
bad?
it would be for it to be like normal Pokemon. It's like Pokemon, the basics of a Pokemon game essentially are like a graphing calculator strategy game. Like
it's rock, paper, scissors, scissors 2, scissors 3, like there's 18 different types of instruments, and which one's better against the other? There's obviously more complexity than that, but like not a whole lot more, not more than there was for this. And I would argue that the way that they handle battles in this game is actually more complex, because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. You gotta hold down to use the superpower. Tell me that. Tell me fucking anything.
I want to apologize for my grouchiness earlier. I think I was just butthurt that everybody finally got into geocaching.
That was the other thing I was thinking.
They
what
were
are you
getting
talking about?
fake Pokemon instead of like
real buttons,
like an eraser. Like at least at the end of geocaching, sometimes you get an eraser.
Sure.
Justin, do you want to talk about Stabby Stabby?
Oh yeah, Dishonored 2. I'm playing currently. Full disclosure, have not completed this video game. It was released fairly recently, but I'm most of the way through it. It's really good, and it's really like interesting, because I've never been one who's like crazy about stealth games. I've always found it really frustrating to have something go sloppily and not just like redo it and try to do it perfectly. Like I've always been frustrated by the moment in Metal Gear games where you're stealthing for 20 minutes and then, right at the most inopportune moment, you get seen and the whole thing like collapses around you.
Snake?
Snake. But in Dishonored, it's really different, because when things collapse around you, if you're ready for it, like the game can morph into a different sort of experience, and it's like it's okay with that. Like it doesn't feel like you're betraying the core concept of the game. It just feels like that you have to evolve the way you play. One of the things that's like really, I'll give a good example of Dishonored. One of the things that's really interesting about that for me is like you can grab people to choke them out, but when you do, if there's somebody else that has spotted you and you're trying to get through the game without being killed,
you just pretend like you're just hugging them?
No, they will kill the person you're holding to get to you.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to weigh like, well, I don't know, like I don't think I can choke this person out before the person comes to kill them, and I'm really trying to avoid people getting killed here because it affects the overall game.
Another invaluable thing it adds is you can parry enemies with like a good block timing, and in a lot of games you do that, and then you can execute like a instant kill. Yeah. In Dishonored 2, you can execute a choking grab from that. Yeah. So if you get spotted, your options are no longer, shoot them with a sleep dart or use some power to knock them out or run away. You can fight them, and you have
return back to stealth.
You have a non-lethal option in melee combat, which is something that it was sorely missing in Dishonored 1.
It feels like Metal Gear in that way. I think Metal Gear kind of had the last one, whatever it was, 5.
Yeah.
Had like that level of like versatility as well. I've full disclosure. So I love the first Dishonored, and I love stealth games. It's probably my favorite genre. And I was dying to play this game. And it literally came out when my eyes started failing.
No.
And I was like struggling to like squint through the disease to see what was going on. Anyway, I spent yesterday, as my eyes started to return to somewhat humanity, I spent like probably a half hour just playing the tutorial and like the opening cutscene. And what I want to just say is, and this was consistent with the last game, but this one, it seems even more so. Holy shit, the art design in this game is so fucking
nobody's
bonkers.
doing anything like it. Yeah,
And you can finally see it in this
bonkers.
version. Like, I think the last one looked muddy. Like, it was great art design that looked like it was
I
covered
think it
in
was limited
Vaseline.
by the technology, the last one. And this is like, oh, we're going to go nuts. We're going to have like carved flower pillars.
Yeah.
That throne room, again, I've only played the first half hour, but that throne room is like a feat. And then the robots that they've designed, like, oh my God.
Yeah,
It's-
and the other thing that's so interesting about Dishonored that I don't think any game can touch is the versatility you have with which you can approach different challenges, different problems. I mean, like you there's a wall of light you have to get past. So maybe you stride right through and tear crap up and kill everybody. That's an option. Maybe or like there's a windmill back away from a little bit that has a tank in it, but if you pull the tank, somebody's going to notice and they're going to come investigate it. So maybe you want to take it that way. Also, there's a gate, a tiny grate that you can like transform into a rat and go through. They have this great if you're playing as Emily, you can play as either Emily or Corvo from the first game. Emily, and I haven't played as Corvo, so I don't know how his abilities have evolved. But Emily has this great thing where you basically turn into the darkness from the darkness is the best way I can describe it. You're just like a shadow that's crawling on the ground and making terrifying noises, and like you can take people out silently that way by like pulling them down and just like taking over their conscience or whatever. But you can also use that to get into tight spots and small places you couldn't go before, and the level of with which they have expected you to do this and like constructed these things that you may not even notice. Like there's one segment I just played yesterday in a level that has this great mechanic that is bizarrely in another game we're going to talk about, and I don't think we should talk about it.
No, let's not
in
spoil
either
it.
one. But there was a great moment where these guards were in a room and they were having a conversation about where to hide a silver ingot that they had stolen. And you could basically use that as an opportunity, like because they were distracted by that world was happening and it felt like you were really in it. So you could wait until they were done hiding the ingot and they'd take off. Or
the barks like that are crazy, like good, where you're just like going down a street and you see this guard around the corner and you hear him think like, was it just a kiss or did it mean something more? Like giving that much character to just like bags of blood that you're gonna.
It is almost a problem for me with the mounds and mounds and mounds of text throughout the world, in that I just consume all of it, and I want to play the game, and I feel like I can't sometimes because
you have to do the stuff.
Yeah, I have to read through everything. I want to have like one small, and this is a totally unfair complaint, but. Do you remember that how Assassin's Creed used to have that thing where it would rate you after a mission?
Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
And be like, oh, you're bad. And you'd be like, well, okay, cool. The game's not fun. There's a little bit of that in Dishonored for me with the whole, are you playing chaos versus good or whatever?
Peaceful, whatever.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I can't. You talked about how, like, oh, well, once things go sour, you can just start, like, wrecking shit, and it can be fun in a different way, which is how I love modern stealth games. But I feel so pressured to play it in the true stealth grapple way. Like, I keep thinking, oh, well, that's how the game's designed, so I should play towards that. And I'm having to cut that out of my head and just let myself, like, have fun. And I just wish that wasn't there. Because
I think the logic of it, I think the reason it's there, the reason it's telling you that is because unlike a lot of games where like you can do either stealth or you can do action, the impact, at least in the first game, again, I've only spent an hour or so with this new one, but at least in the first game, the impact of going non-lethal versus lethal had a lot of gameplay and story impact.
Yeah.
Where like the final mission was completely different.
That's true here as well. That's
so
true
what I'm saying is I think you need to have an indicator, especially to players that like aren't super nerds that played the first one or read about the game a ton, to tell them, hey, things are getting worse and worse, and how that's sort of why that's happening.
Yeah,
and
I think
like telling people, oh, you just killed a ton of people, now things are really bad, and the story has changed.
See, I don't feel like it forces you into what I guess what for me what I'm saying is like when something breaks bad for me, it's really easy in Dishonored to peel out of a situation and let it chill out, and then figure out how you're going to approach it in a more stealthy way. Like it doesn't need to turn into a bloodbath for the situation to evolve. Like it doesn't take a lot for these guys to forget that a living shadow just stood up in front of them and tried to stab them and didn't, and then left. Like they forget that pretty quickly.
I have a couple of issues with the game. My first being that I think it's just as elegant as the first one, but I feel like the enemies, for some reason in this game, can have magic eyes that can see through fucking space and time. Like, I have been spotted by enemies from 100 yards away and, like, kicked off a chase, and it wasn't like I ran up and tried to shoot their buddy with a pistol. It was like I was in the opposite end of a courtyard, and I just feel like that I've gotten spotted.
What difficulty are you on?
Just normal difficulty.
Yeah, okay. Interesting.
And my main problem with the game is I feel like the upgrade economy of the game is a little bit off. I feel like I'm near the end. I think I'm on the last mission, and for about half the game now, I saved up like 20 runes because I'm playing as Emily, and I reached a point where like there were no more upgrades that suited my playstyle even a little bit, and so I put all my runes into the bone charm crafting, which is a new thing in this game where you can make these passive upgrades for yourself. I think that system's kind of unsatisfying because like almost really every bad. Bone charm I find is like you can kill people and eat their bones to get more mana. It's like, well, I'm not going to do that. And so you can like break them down to build new ones, but you can only build new ones using the traits of the ones that you broke down. So it's like that system's not especially great. And it basically culminated in me saving up like 25 runes. I'm on the last mission. I was like, well, I might as well spend them. And so I put them all into bone crafting, and like it unlocks a perk where you can put traits on multiple runes and like stack them. So now I have this trait where like every time I shoot somebody with a sleep dart, I can recover it off their corpse.
Whoa,
so that
cool.
makes the game pretty trivial. Like that stuff is just like, it's cool that they give you this much freedom, but like I still don't think they nailed it. I still don't think they crushed it. Like there are some things that I want to be able to do with these powers that like I don't think the game necessarily lets me do. And I think that might just be a complaint that works with the playing through stealthily, because I think there's a lot of badass upgrades for if you want to go through and set up these like beautiful chain reaction kills. I just don't think you have that many options when it comes to...
It's weird because on the one hand, it's encouraging you with the stuff you guys were talking about to play in either like a lethal or non-lethal kind of way. But from a mechanical perspective, it doesn't seem to be rewarding you in that way. Like there's like most of the powers are not something that like I want to use in a non-lethal stealthy kind of playthrough. Like I don't need to, like, for instance, there's a you can make a duplicate of yourself that will run around and distract people. That's fine, except like I don't really want everybody to. I want the guards.
I don't want everybody
to be where the guards are supposed
getting
to be, and I don't want everybody on high alert roaming around.
Almost everything
harder.
you get, like you get new special crossbow bolts, and it's like this one will make them run away in fear. Like I don't want to fucking do that. Shoot them with this one, and it won't knock them out, but it'll blind them for a second. Okay, but they're gonna be super pissed off when that's over with.
Yeah, I mean it's true that it doesn't necessarily match your playstyle, but having seen, I don't know if you guys have watched these YouTube videos of like insane. I've never seen like playthrough. You were talking about speedruns earlier. These crazy, insane, complex speedruns are the first Dishonored, and they use all of these tools in like really interesting ways. So I kind of, even though it doesn't match my normal gameplay playstyle, I like that they're in there because it opens the floodgates for like these crazy like skilled players.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I've been doing the same stuff with Emily now for 5 or 6 missions, which is like Spider-Man slaying up to a high point, domino some people together, shoot one of them with a sleep dart, or jump down and knock them out with an instant KO. Repeat. And I still like it. It's still fun to do. I wish there was just a little bit more.
Yeah, it'd be cool if there was like similar to Doom, where it encouraged you to do different things with different powers.
Yeah.
To like unlock stuff would be like a neat addition. Anyway, we should move on.
Chris, you want to go or should I?
Sure, I'll go, and we can save something real nice for.
I'm dying to hear about this because I
haven't played this at all.
Justin, was planning on literally just selling this to you because I feel like this is a game for you in a lot of ways. So my game is Watchdogs 2, which might surprise you because Watchdogs 1 was awful.
Big poopy.
It was real bad. Watchdogs 2 is a puzzle game in an open world. Is pretty much the best way I can describe it. Talking cat, starring Kevin Spacey. So yeah, what they did was they had two ideas. They said, okay, we can make a traditional open world game that's like GTA with generic shooting, but if people want to play it as a puzzle game, they can. So all the missions, you have a RC little car, and it can hop and make noise and do all sorts of other hacking things. And you have a flying drone that has similar capabilities. And you go to the location, and at first I was terrible because you are essentially made of glass. And I went in and played it like GTA and just got wrecked. And then I talked to my pal Andrew Webster, and he said, never go into buildings. Don't even enter like the premises. Just stay outside and use your little car and your little plane and see what you can pull off. And what I realized was they essentially built these places as these giant stealth puzzles that you can crack by using these two different tools. And some of them, are just outright explicitly puzzles. Like if you try to hack this, there's one mission that's a giant data center down by where the giant stadium is. Side note, the version of
Giant
San Francisco is really, really, really pretty. And like kind of feels recognizable enough if you've been to San Francisco a few times.
It's pretty close.
Yeah,
it's not exact like street for street
or anything.
It's
surprisingly close. It's much better than
close.
The original Watch Dogs version of Chicago that had a port.
Oh.
But you could break in and go into this like goofy tech campus, or you can fly up your drone, hack through a window, and then the entire exterior of the building becomes a wire puzzle that you are essentially adjusting and moving the pieces by hacking them to solve this puzzle that is built onto the side of the building. It's just really smart and charming. The other thing that I'll say, and this is where I think you'll get on board, Hoops, is they just ripped off Saints Row outright in terms of the script and the characters.
Tone.
Yeah. It is... They clearly took Saints Row 3 and 4 and said, okay, what works here? From just having interesting characters that are likable to kind of this like socially progressive kick in terms of what they're trying to say with the characters, to very long conversations about Aliens versus Predator and like the tiniest details of what makes that franchise work and not work. It's just it's a really likable game, and Griffin talked about like how he prefers, this finite experience where that you can blast through it. My favorite games these days are these worlds where I just like being there. They just bring me joy being in that space. And it's the opposite of GTA. And like, it just doesn't feel all that cynical. It feels
I wanted
like...
to ask how much, because I feel like I've seen some stuff. Nick posted some video or somebody posted some video of like taking a selfie with some people in the background, and the people in the background like give you the feeling like, hey, fuck you, man. And I saw that and I got worried that it was just like more of this like...
Yeah,
super shitty, like, everybody in this world is a fucking vapid piece of shit, man. Get it? Like, thanks, Banksy. Yeah, I get it.
I haven't got a whole lot of that. Don't get me wrong, like, the missions are still goofy. Like, there's a Martin Shkreli mission. There's they're clearly trying to lampoon Silicon Valley culture, but it just isn't so aggressively mean. and like entitled almost as GTA.
There's not a mission where you fucking kill the founder of Facebook with a foam bomb?
No, there's nothing like that. I will say the one really weird thing is you are this like goofy hacktivist, and then you have the ability to just
murder
pull out normal
hundreds
guns
and hundreds of people
and just wholesale murder people. And it did require like cognitive disconnect of.
Is there ever a moment where they're like, "And here's a gun"?
No, you just have one from the beginning. I mean, you have a stun gun. I think Phil mentioned it in y'all's review, but it would have been so great if they just said, okay, all the bullets are stun bullets. They're the exact same guns, but because there's like not blood or anything.
Right.
But you can't carry that through when like you can make a car explode or something like.
Yeah, I mean that's the only thing. The explosions would be like the catch. But they even sell
there's stun explosions.
They actually have that. That's in the game.
Okay.
Like there is a stun gun grenade launcher. So
let me ask you, Plant. Again, this was another game that I wanted to play, and then my eyes gave out, so I played an hour last night just to sort of like introduce myself. How much of the game is Mr. Robot to a T?
I mean, Mr. Robot was also like ripping off a million other things. I don't know.
No, you're right.
I wouldn't be too generous to Mr. Robot. A little bit. It's just. I would say it's nothing like Mr. Robot in that like it has a soul and is fun.
Sure. Yes.
Like it just doesn't live in like I'm an
dreary,
addict.
Awful.
Yeah.
World, yeah.
I the other thing I would say is I was talking to Megan about this, and she was like, I couldn't really get into it because I played it like GTA. I did a couple missions, and then I wanted to amble around the world, and there wasn't that much. And it is a game where the entire point is your capabilities, like these superpowers that you get essentially as a hacker, and not having those makes the game suffer. So like you do have to commit to unlocking different things before the game really starts to kick into gear. But I think the first missions are enjoyable enough, and it hands out the points that you need to buy those things. Like, I mean, Halloween candy. Like, you are rarely for want.
I died in that tutorial stealth sequence in the beginning, and I couldn't tell if it was because I could barely see or I was just really bad.
I
died
too.
like 12 times.
I died, and then I had to replay it because I switched my PlayStation 4 to PS4 Pro and lost my save files. But when I did that, when I went back the second time, I just think I had an idea of how to play the version of stealth. Like I said, it doesn't play the same way as Dishonored or like even what is it, Metal Gear 5. It has its own feel stealth wise, and once I kind of like clicked with it, it started to be really enjoyable. It is it my favorite game of the year? No, but is it like one of the better open world games this year? Yeah, I think so by far.
I'd like to talk about my actual game of the year.
Hit it.
Which is, I don't think going to win the Besties, so I think I'm on a nice streak for this.
It could.
In the vein of Undertale, I would like to present for the approval of the Midnight Society, Stardew Valley is my favorite game that was released this year. It is a game in the style of a few life sim games, but I think the core inspiration here is Harvest Moon. And the reason why Stardew Valley is so special is, well, I mean, it's a fucking exceptionally made game, but also it was made mostly by a single person, Eric Barone, who operates under the title, the developer name Concerned Ape. And this person took a look at this genre of games that the Harvest Moon series has gotten progressively worse and worse and worse, which is something that he has said, and I agree with because I still buy those things. I bought the last couple on 3DS, and they're just getting worse and worse. And so he took a look at this genre and said, like, well, this sucks. I bet I could do it better, and then went out and made, like, hands down the best game that this admittedly pretty niche genre has ever seen by a fucking country mile. Like, it is a Harvest Moon game without these like abstract mechanics that you have to like read you have to cross-reference 3 different game facts guides to understand, like soil health. and stuff like that. It is a really good looking game. It is a well written game, which is something that it has hands and heads and shoulders above any other game in this series. And it's also just like a really, really deep game that, it has all that Harvest Moon like customization and farming, and it has this like ironclad progression loop of, raising some crops and then selling those crops to get new things for your enormous farm that you can customize. But it also incorporates some more modern like advances. Like there's sort of RPG mechanics where you have skills that also level up that unlocks new things. It's also just like, it is the most chill game released this year. And like this is my type of genre, like the life sim genre. Like I love games like Animal Crossing New Leaf, which I am now also playing again because it has that amiibo update, which high honorable mention. It is a game that you can just kind of like get into and just like, it's just nice and it's just chill. And while it is being nice and chill, it is also like really, really compelling, because today I'm going to play it and I'm going to like go mining and get some ore to upgrade my axe that I can use to finish clearing out my farm. Like this is I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. It is exactly my cup of tea. Like games like this are my favorite games that you can just kind of get lost in and sort of make your mark on the world. And like Stardew Valley is it's the best Harvest Moon game, and it's one of the best like life sim games ever made. It's also like, it's an incredible feat that one guy, and he also just released an update to the game that adds like a bunch of different farm layouts and new quests and a bunch of new buildings and a bunch of new like animals and recipes and like all kinds of new stuff. Like just this one guy took a look at this genre, said this genre sucks now, and then like made the best thing that this genre has ever seen. And to me, that is spectacular. That is like,
what's weird to me
amazing.
is that like I agree with everything you said, like totally 100%. The biggest reason that I have not played as much Stardew Valley as I've wanted to play is 100% the platform.
Yeah.
Which is to say, this sort of game is the opposite of the PC gaming experience to me.
Yeah.
I want to be sitting in a quiet library chair.
Yeah, sure.
Like in a handheld. And this isn't his fault. Like I'm not looking for him to launch on his own of whatever video release.
It's one dude like that going through different cert processes is insane. Although it was published by Chucklefish, who also did, oh God, what was the Star Terraria, Space Terraria?
Oh, Terraria?
No.
Oh,
it was the one.
I know what you're talking about, the space one.
Fuck, that game is so good. I also spent a lot of time playing.
That's another game that like I love what they're doing, but I would love to not play it on a PC.
So it is coming to
hunkered over.
It is coming to consoles. It's coming to PS4 and Xbox One, I think. So like at least on PS4 we'll get that remote play. But like if I had this on 3DS, you'd never see me again.
Griffin, NX launch title.
I mean, that'd be hot. That'd be hot.
You'd lose your mind.
Because I agree with you. Like I am actually going to definitely purchase this game again when it comes out on PS4 and play it on remote play while I've got the baby asleep in the nursery. Like that's going to be my shit. That experience on a 3. I mean, God, that's why I spent 200 hours playing Animal Crossing New Leaf, is just because I could anywhere.
Yeah. If I could, I played a pretty good chunk of Stardew Valley, and the place where it sort of bumped for me, and I'm not sure. There's probably other people who are in the same boat. Although, like looking at feedback from people, I don't seem to be. But like you were talking about, what a chill experience it is. On a certain level, I totally get that. But for me, so many of the systems were sort of so obtuse that I spent a lot of time feeling like I wasn't making the best use of whatever I had going on, because there was just so much to sort of absorb.
Yeah. I remember that we did a video together where I kind of had to walk you through the loops of the game, because there is like a time element to each day, and there are seasons, and when the seasons change, like if you have crops you haven't harvested, they'll lose. Like, there's a little bit of stress to the game. I concede that.
I feel like I don't know what a good solution for this would be, but like I really want, like I had to spend a lot of time while I was playing it, like referring to different guides and stuff like that just to figure out like what I was doing and how I should be using my time efficiently with the game. And like maybe that goes back to the sort of player I am. I don't feel like I don't want to waste time doing the wrong thing and discover 20 hours later that like I messed something up, or
Sure.
like I could have been making better use of it.
Have you played Harvest Moon games before?
Oh God, no.
Okay,
no,
see, that's
no,
I
no.
feel like there was an institutional knowledge that this game maybe expected
Perhaps,
of you,
yeah.
because like it's the same loops and it's the same priorities. I mean, there's definitely more stuff. It's not like this is just like a clone, but like you kind of know if you've played those games, like, okay, well, I need to upgrade my watering can so I don't waste as much energy. Like, that's
It's like if you've never been on Guts before, you wouldn't necessarily know how to climb the aggro crag.
yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't know what the
yeah.
aggro crag is.
Yeah, right.
You could assume based on the name, but you wouldn't know for sure.
Plant, you played a bunch of Stardew Valley, right?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, honestly, I'm looking at the list of games that we have here, and it's probably my winner. The only gripe I had was that I just can't make time for it. Like
Yeah.
I think that's because of the platform.
Yeah, I think it is partly the platform. I also, this is such a stupid thing to say. It's too good. Like some games are like hard drugs for me, and it was one of those games that I think Steffi was out of town when I started playing it, and I did one of those full weekend binges, and then realized like, oh, this connects to some deep part of me. And Harvest Moon was my favorite game on SNES when I was a kid.
Fuck yeah.
And I think it was like, not only is this like the best version of Harvest Moon, but it has like some nostalgic grip on my heart that if I let myself, I could like, it's like you said, this would be my only jam. And I think I made it to, I guess I went through 2 full seasons. Mm-hmm. And then, which is nothing compared to like a hardcore Stardew Valley player, but I kind of hit that point of like, okay, I know what this is. I really, really like this. I need to like make time to play other things.
Yeah.
Which I guess is only a compliment.
Sure. But yeah, this is my game of the year, and I guess that's the end of this round. And it's the only other thing I would vote for, I think, is Dishonored 2, and I fucking loved Stardew Valley a lot more than that.
Stardew Valley's mine.
I would give it. I would give it to Stardew Valley. I'm fine with that.
Should we stop here?
Wow, Griffin has already bolded the Stardew Valley. Didn't
It
even
doesn't
let the
matter.
Gem
Your
Man sort
vote
of
basically
weigh
might as well not
in.
exist.
This isn't a voting show. We don't vote on this show. It's about conversations. It's about people growing
Chris
together.
Grantotron.
Yeah, sure. It's actually never, ever, ever been about that.
No, it just didn't. I don't know. I wish that I didn't. I wish that
Also,
I had.
co-op is coming to the game in an update next year. Like,
Oh.
co-op Harvest Moon. Like, fuck yes.
I will sort of side. I'm not going to fight Stardew Valley here, but I will sort of side with Plant in one regard. A lot of the people who I saw were who were really, really into this game were talking about play hours in terms of like hundreds. Like
Yeah.
these terrifying, like I would get these terrifying updates from
Justin,
Dan Reichert,
Justin.
and it's like,
It's called SimCity Build It.
well,
How much fucking time have you dropped?
That's Dookie time. Like I don't need to be productive then. But like I see that and like anymore, I'm like, whoa, okay, well, you know what? Maybe
Also, Destiny. What are
Maybe
you
I'm
talking
actually
about?
good.
Yeah, exactly.
Destiny's fucking fun though. Like Destiny's really good.
Yeah.
It's good and fun. But like, but honestly, Griffin, this is not bullshit. If I could. I don't know if I believe this. If I could wave a wand and never have played Destiny, I might do it. Like I might actually do it because like I'm too deep now to get out.
Yeah.
And it is a very like fun video game, like a very fun and good video game. There's lots of fun video games that don't make me want to die. And there's a lot of times where like I was in like I was in therapy for generalized anxiety disorder pretty consistently throughout most of 2015 in dealing with how to be a new father. And there was a lot of times where like I had spent so much time playing Destiny and not caring for my own mental health that I felt like if I could just tell my therapist like, well, I should probably play less Destiny. And she would be like, well, I guess we're done. I guess I'll just charge you half for this one because you figured it out.
Yeah,
on
you
your
did this one
own.
on your own.
You saw that is the problem. I feel like I'm really stressed that I don't have enough time. If she could just say like, "Well, stop playing so much fucking Destiny," maybe I could be like,
Yeah, I'm noticing
yeah,
here
go
your
in.
day
Yeah,
is
good
totally
point.
accounted for, except for these 90% of the hours.
Yeah,
seem to
90% of
be
my
X.
waking hours is just trying to get a fucking Fatebringer to drop.
Have you been exercising and meditating like we talked about? Like, no, I'm just so
No,
busy.
just, like, trying
but
to get
I
that
couldn't just
Fatebringer.
finish the sentence. It's like I'm so busy, but like I just want to get through one raid run and get all the monitors because I feel like that would really fix it all for me. All right, well, let's take a break right here. I think that we've done. Let's review.
I'm tired.
I know, Griffy Biffy.
I hate talking about video games.
It's exhausting. Overwatch is our round 1 winner. Stardew Valley is our round 2 winner. They will compete in Mortal Kombat.
Our
That's
round
right,
our
Mortal
round 3
Kombat.
winner.
Mortal Kombat. There wasn't a new one of those this year, was there?
No.
Nah, I don't feel like there was.
Guys, I want to mention, we haven't done this for a year. It's been quite a while. And even though we take a year off between these recordings, even though we've taken that long break, it so happens that I've been getting a visitor every single week.
Oh, fuck. Hey, hold on. Wait, hold on. Zzz, click, click. Okay, that was me putting my fucking seatbelt on.
I've been getting a visitor to my apartment every single week, really just wanting to like shoot the shit and spread, his thoughts to the world. And I keep having to like turn him away at the door and be like, dude, this is like, we only do this once a year. Like, you don't have an outlet for it. And I personally would rather, I don't mind sitting and chilling with the guy, but he needs a platform.
May I ask a question before?
Sure.
Is this visitor making use of the entirety of the 30-foot ceilings that you installed in your house?
They're not quite there, and maybe that's why he doesn't stick around for super long.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, we're about 25. I keep trying to like get a contractor in here to do some work, but
I gotta say, if it is our height enhanced friend, I am psyched to hear it, because some of Russ's friends, much like some of the older John Hughes movies, you watch them nowadays, and there's some ideas that nowadays we find kind of challenging.
Yeah,
there's some ideas
they're
that
of
we
a
find a
different
bit
time,
hateful and
friends.
challenging, and I'm not sure it would hold up to 2016.
Do you mean that
scrutiny.
5 kids from different backgrounds could spend an entire Saturday together?
Just saying, but constantly saying gay slurs at each other.
Oh, that part.
Yeah.
No, this one, he's actually here. He came as per usual. Every single week he comes right at the same time, and he came as per usual. So if you guys don't mind if he just pops on for a little bit, and
I mean, I do mind.
Hey, yo!
I might.
it's me, New York Giraffe. Hey, Griffin.
Boy. Hi, New York Giraffe.
Have you
How
been
was-
missing me?
Yeah,
This
how
is
was
so
your...
strange. You sound just like Russ, and not like
it's-
New York Giraffe used to sound.
I heard that Griffin. I heard you didn't find me super offensive.
No, if I were to, rank Russ's friends, I think, Ghost of Milton Bradley would almost certainly be number 1.
Yeah, that guy's pretty racist.
And then, I don't know, man, there were a few others. But yeah, it's almost like a refreshing spring breeze when you come around.
Yeah, what can I say? I'm like a yellow spotted magical tree of justice over here.
I've always said those exact words about you. How has your year been?
So here's what I wanted to come on and say, and I've been waiting a year to say this. Everyone's been saying, hey, 2016, not such a good year, right? Everyone's
Yeah, it's a
worried.
miserable
great.
year.
They're worried about the future. They're worried about, I don't know, science, stuff like that. I wanted to say
They're worried about science?
2016, I wanted to say, great year.
Uh-huh.
Oh, no, bud.
And here's number 1 reason, great year for 2016.
Oh, no.
Global warming. Great.
Okay.
Okay, so this is a new spin.
So this is a new fun spin on the globally bad thing of global warming.
Is it bad? Is it? Or is
Yeah.
it possible the trees were getting too tall?
Interesting.
You never thought
Challenging.
about that, did you?
A weirdly nihilistic turn from the New York Giraffe.
Is it so weird?
Now, I'm pretty tall, as you know.
Yeah.
But trees were getting much taller.
So you're saying the big GW comes and shows some of those trees who's boss, withers up some of the big boys, and all of a sudden now who's the tallest in the land?
Precisely, it's me, MYG. Exactly.
That's a very giraffe centric view
very
of this
giraffe-centric.
really bad thing. That's
May I ask
happened.
a question? And I don't want to be rude here. I don't want to reach past my place. But who did you vote for, New York Giraffe?
Oh God.
Well, I was more of a Gary Johnson guy myself.
No fucking
that
question.
sounds
To be honest,
No
he really
surprise.
spoke to me, and his platforms about freedom and tree height.
And he also has a very long and elegant neck.
Yes.
I know
Yes.
you like that, you dirty bird.
I also like the fact that there's less competition for the trees in terms of eating them, because all
Okay.
the other animals are dying. So it's
So-
great.
Okay, is this your only reason why? Because we also lost Bowie and Prince and everyone cool. Nobody cool is left.
Sure, but you know who wouldn't be cool, and you know who would have died this year were it not for global warming? Is New York Giraffe. So who do you care more about? You care more
I'm
about
sorry,
Bowie?
I don't.
How would
understand
you have
that.
died?
David Bowie? Or your
Yeah.
friendly giraffe who talks to you every day?
No.
I would strangle you with my hands today to
Not
get
possible.
an extra hour of David Bowie on this earth.
I would strangle you for an extra hour of David Bowie B-side demos.
That is offensive to me. I do want to mention one more
the
thing.
interesting thing is both of you could strangle him at the same time, and it really
all three.
wouldn't be
I think
too
it's going to take
difficult.
all three of us.
Yeah, you
Six
need more
six
than,
powerful
you need
hands.
16 people to strangle me if you really wanted to. You'd have to get a gaggle.
That's what they say about you.
The other thing I wanted to say, people
Yeah.
are worried about 2017, right?
Yeah, it's going to be pretty
No,
rough too. It seems
it's
like.
going to be great, and here's why.
Okay.
Everyone's saying net neutrality's going down, and
Yeah.
I love it. You know who's not
Why?
neutral about the net? Me. Have you ever tried to get a giraffe out of a net?
Oh God.
Okay.
Ever?
Oh.
It sucks.
Oh.
New York Giraffe. The way you think is awful.
This is just who I am. I'm a giraffe.
No,
what do you
I
want
know
from
that.
me? You want me to not
why
be a
I don't.
giraffe?
That's why I don't get crazy to see. I'm not crazy to see you. It's because
Yeah.
you think
It's because I speak the truth. I'm
your
dropping
bra-
truth bombs.
Your brain is just bad, and
Can
you
I
come
ask
and you
one
espouse
more-
these bad thoughts.
I have one more New York-based question. I've been out of New York for a while now, and I'm
Is it about the
curious
Metro Club prices that have gotten too high? What do they think they're doing over here?
No, it's about that hit Broadway show, Hamilton. Did
Oh,
you
yeah.
get a chance
oh yeah,
to
did
see
you get
it?
to that?
No, I can't fit. I tried
That's
to
not
get
true.
in.
The
I
Richard
couldn't
Rogers
fit.
is a huge. It's a very tall theater. You could definitely get in there. That's
It's
an
tall,
excuse.
but I don't want to mention anything, but I'm pretty wide as well, by the way. P.S. Kind of wide.
Oh, and this is a part of you that we've never heard about. That you
Well,
are
I'm like
as tall as you are
horse width.
wide.
Have you seen a horse? Do you think a horse could fit in a normal Broadway theater seat? No. I take up half of the subway car. What do you want? Right? Also, people complain
Challenging.
if they're sitting behind me. They're like, put your hat down. And I'm like, I'm not wearing a hat. It's just my neck.
I'm sorry. They think that the nub
They
of
think
your
you-
spine is your
yeah.
head, and that the rest is
They
a
think
hat,
it's one of those tall, the Cat in the Hat hats. They think that's
Uh-huh.
what I'm wearing.
or like
a
Jamiroquai.
a Jamiroquai.
Mm,
A
thank you.
Jamiroquai hat. Yes,
Got
precisely.
it.
Are we done? Mr. Giraffe, are we done?
I don't know. Are we done with the Earth?
I think I want giraffes to be extinct.
What?
Now, that's weird. That is one thing. Good thing about, yeah.
About this whole thing.
I mean, I'm all for fewer giraffes, so I don't have to worry about more competition in the trees for apples and such. But all of them? That includes me, Griffin.
I don't get me wrong. It's a broad approach to getting rid of you. It's like, if I could just get rid of you and all the other giraffes are cool, that's fine. I'm saying the inverse would also be acceptable.
Also, I should point out that it's good for us to dislike you, because if we liked you a whole bunch, 2016 would kill you. And we can't have that. We need
God,
to
you know
live
what?
on.
I think New York Giraffe might be the most influential and important artist of our time. And I don't know what I'd do without him here. He's got a bright future. He's already got a really excellent discography, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does in the future, and I hope nothing bad happens to him.
What are you doing to me?
Okay, this
Oh
is
no, the shingles are covering his every extremity and he's dying. He caught shingles from Russ.
My eyes, it's spreading. I got the spots all down my neck.
last year.
No, not like
Last year, I'm
this.
pretty sure we threw him out of a fucking window and he survived that. So I
Yeah,
ain't
because it
worried
wasn't
about
that high for me. I basically just stepped down.
Okay,
Well, thanks for coming
I'll
by.
be
Neil.
thanks
fine.
for coming by.
If you guys need a tiebreaker, let me know.
Oh fuck.
Hey, I have a fun halftime activity real quick before we get back into it.
Coloring books.
What game are you guys most like if you had looked at this list at the beginning of the year, what game are you most surprised is not on it? It doesn't have to be biggest disappointment, but like what game did you
I've got
going
one.
into 2016? What's that?
Quantum Break. Quantum Break, I was so pumped for Quantum Break. I absolutely loved Alan Wake. I pretty much dig all of the games that Studio Remedy has made. And Quantum Break just did not land for me. It just, like, story-wise was lame, and it just wasn't there for me. It was a okay game. It wasn't a bad game, but it was just, like, pretty... It just didn't live up to my expectations for what they're capable of.
You're saying like January 1st, 2016, if we looked at a list of upcoming releases and tried to figure out what our top games were going to be, like what we're surprised. I mean, No Man's Sky, right? Like,
Oh, yeah, sure. Big one.
Wow, that's a really good point.
I don't know that I've ever been so.
Is it weird that I wasn't as disappointed as the entire Earth was with No Man's Sky? Maybe because I'm like a realist and I knew what video games are capable of.
I mean, that it goes so far beyond that for me. Like I am also fairly jaded in that regard. But this was a whole new thing. Like saying your game has multiplayer in it and then it doesn't. And you get and believe me, I know about I've heard all about the nuance, and I respect the nuance.
No,
of
there's
how
no
difficult
multiplayer.
it is to
You're
make
right.
games.
That was a total lie.
That's fucking unforgivable and preposterous. Yeah, you can hook up with other players, explore the galaxy. You fucking can't, and you can't say that. That's wild.
I still kind of feel bad for those casts, not to like dismiss anything, but like it seems like let me say that, not to dismiss the actions, but it really does seem like they were making something of a smaller scale, and Sony latched onto it and needed it to be a bigger scale than they could deliver. And that would be my guess. Plante, you usually have good insight in this shit. What do you?
Yeah,
you
I mean,
disagree?
I've been following that studio from when they were just a couple of guys who wanted to make a Sonic-like game after they left Criterion. Yeah, and there's super nice guys. They like bet the house a number of times. Like I think Sean put up his mortgage when they were making Joe Danger.
Yep.
To be able to fund the studio, and then they had like their office got flooded. They've gone through obviously a ton. I think the issue that I can grok from the whole Sony situation was, my guess is they expected an actual marketing team to do their job, and like to guide them through the PR waters or swamps. And I don't think Sony did that. I think they did like an extreme disservice in terms of like Sony telling them to pitch a game that wasn't there. I don't know if I fully buy that, just because they were out there pushing the game at the Video Game Awards before the Sony deal.
Yeah.
And I think from the beginning, I mean, either they were showing a significantly more powerful version of the game when they first showed it, or they showed a fabricated vertical slice, which is standard in the industry. Like, if you want to talk about games that lie, look at any of the original BioShock Infinite video gameplay demos. I mean, they're straight up not the game.
Yeah.
And are clearly, in retrospect, CG in large part, where they explicitly said they weren't. So, like, this is an industry protocol. I think where they got really taken through the mud, for I think fair reason at times, is because they just didn't have the resources. Like I said, this happens with other studios. It just never is allowed to spin out of control because they do
and I think they
damage
never
control.
would have launched at $60 if Sony didn't come in. Like if they just like self-published essentially, I think it would have been a $20 or $30 game.
I didn't even think it was that. I didn't think it was a bad game. I played it a long time. I played it a long time, and I thought it was cool. I wasn't bothered by the like. I mean, I didn't love the fact that it was a game where you were constantly feeding meters.
Yeah.
It was like you had like 7 discrete poisons coursing through your body that you had to constantly be finding.
Yeah, every
antidotes
single
for.
time you jumped, it was like, well, that sets
Well,
me
sorry,
back
you need
3
to
hours.
go eat
Yeah.
a fucking flower. Like
I also do think it's not a great game. Like I mean I defend it. I can defend it to some respects, especially in terms of like people piling on them and like threatening them. I think that's terrible.
No,
but,
the reaction was fucking
Yeah,
the most ridiculous thing. But you said there'd
compare
be
it to,
fucking
like,
multiplayer
Rust?
in the game, and there wasn't. Like to an extent, I can't.
Yeah. I just think like the weird thing that happened was it announced itself, and then like all of these open world like you said, meter management simulations came out ahead of it, and I think often did a better job. And that's what's the weirdest thing to me is like it came out, and not only was it not really what it proposed to be, but it wasn't especially good or better than what was already available.
Yeah, I mean, it's not rocket science. It seems to me that it was built backwards. That's what it feels
Yeah.
like. What it feels like to me is they didn't get a core gameplay loop that was fun and worked.
Yeah, they just
and then
had a
build out from
screensaver
there.
essentially, and they built.
But don't
the
get me
game
wrong, some of
around
that shit was so cool. Like I found some planets that I thought were like really, really rad, and that knowledge of like I'm the only person who's ever been on this planet. It was cool every time. But then that planet had the same 5 fucking buildings on it. Like
Yeah.
I was.
It's a unique experiment, and they wanted to see if they could make that sort of thing fun, and they didn't. I mean, it just wasn't fun, and it seems like, I mean, it's experimental, and I want to. It's weird because I want to celebrate that kind of thing. You know what? Let's talk about a different game because we could
Yeah,
get.
I think
we
enough
should do this show more
ink
often.
has been wasted on No Man's
I'll
Sky.
tell you, mine that I am surprised about not being on the list is Mirror's Edge.
Oh yeah.
The
Mirror's Edge-
subtitle to which escapes me. Like what was
Catalyst.
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 Mirror's
Yeah,
Edge is the
I
only
really
game
dug
I
the
had to.
Oh, you go ahead and talk about mine, Russ.
Sorry, I just wanted to say I was going to review Mirror's Edge and then literally had to drop the review
Shingles.
5 minutes in because I got nauseous.
It wasn't shingles related.
No, not that time.
No, it's just like I really dug the first Mirror's Edge. It was so neat and such a cool concept, and I felt like it really reminded me of the first Assassin's Creed in that like, okay, this isn't fun, but or this isn't great or perfect, but I can see definitely like the bones of something really interesting are here, and I'm glad I didn't review it because it would be really hard to put my finger on, but like the second Mirror's Edge game, it just didn't have like a flow.
Yeah, well, I know
never
what it
felt
was.
like I was in a,
I think you can put your finger on it very simply. Is that everyone wanted open world, and open world was bad for that game.
I will go a step further and say, do you remember that game Brink?
Yes.
Yes.
Like it was like the really mediocre shooter that Bethesda put out, and you could like
splash damage. Was that
Splash
yeah,
damage,
yeah, and you could like slide in it. Like that was like the thing. It
Or
had like
Human
Mirror's
Head.
Edge
I don't remember
slide.
one of those. Yeah.
And I think what like happened with things like Brink and Mirror's Edge is what people really loved about it was the locomotion. That like, oh, you can climb and slide and vault, and you can do it all in first person when that hadn't been around. And the takeaway for some people was, oh, what people love is this wacky story about hijinks in the pseudo future in parkour. And what really people just wanted was like, hey, can you add slide to my shooter? Because like I like sliding, I like climbing. And I think what happened was they went back and made a game all about these mechanics that now are in like most shooters, and it turns out the game was not that super exciting.
I think you could put it simply. Mirror's Edge was a game where you tried to find these fucking perfect lines on what were essentially tracks.
Yeah.
And Catalyst drops that.
That's
And it's
exactly
like,
what I thought.
Well, okay.
That's why I think it didn't work as well.
But yeah, that was a big disappointment for me.
Chris, did you say one? You have something you were bummed out by?
No, I think we hit the bummers. I mostly overall I enjoyed everything, even the things like No Man's Sky. I'm still like they were interesting experiments, even if I didn't enjoy them. I do think it cost a lot. I also think there is this like I don't know. I hate to do the whole like you made $1 gajillion. Like
Yeah,
but
sure.
He made $1 gajillion. But yeah, I can't imagine what it would be like just to have the internet turned on you. Like, well, I can, but not to that degree.
Been there.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm happy to talk about the stuff I liked. Maybe this is a chance to kick off to that.
Yeah, let's get to round
Cool.
3.
Well, Chris Plant, since yours is boring, do you want to start and let's get it out of the way?
What do I have on the list? It's not in front of me.
Oh God.
Forza Horizon
your
3.
pick is
Oh.
stupid car game.
No. Oh, wait. Here, answer this honestly. Okay.
Okay.
It's a very simple question.
Did I play Forza Horizon?
Did you play Forza Horizon
No,
3?
didn't play it.
No.
I
Okay.
did. I have it and played it a bit. I bought it actually on your recommendation.
Mm-hmm. And
it's,
how much did you play?
I played about 4 or 5 hours. I like it, and I dig what they did, and I think it's a really well made game. I'm gonna stop buying Forza games because I just don't dig it. Like, I just don't dig the feel of it, and that's it.
Do you not like
I-
racing games?
I love racing games.
That's
Don't
hard
do
to
that.
believe.
No,
Like,
I do. I like.
What's a racing game that you like?
I mean, any Criterion game, I'm a fan of it. There is a dichotomy of racing games, and it is arcade side and sim side. And I think Forza Horizon probably leans a little bit closer to the arcade side than its like super heavy sim predecessors. But like, I just don't like the feel of it. I want to fucking drift sideways. I complain like outrun. Like I wanna do that shit, and it doesn't feel like Forza Horizon is that for me.
Do you fishtail a lot in Forza Horizon?
I fuck up a lot, and
Yeah.
I'm just not very good at it. And then when I am good at it, I feel like I'm going like 15 miles an hour in a fucking shopping cart because I'm having to be like so careful with. And I get that that's cool. Like I get that level of like tuning and finesse is like something that folks are digging, and that's not me talking down. Like it's just like I honest to God think if you like racing games, like there is a difference between arcade style racing games and sim style racing games, and I don't have the palate for sim.
I think that's fair. I don't think it's sim like at all. I think it feels straight up like any Burnout game. But I mean, it's like obviously it's a feel thing. There's no way to tell what other people notice about it. I think if anything, it has a level of control that even the Criterion games lacked. So like when I do the drifting on sideways, I feel like I can do it within like an inch of another car and not worry about wrecking. And not
You could do that
like,
in like Paradise.
you
Had
can.
That level of...
It definitely feels very magnetized, like the computer's giving you a lot of wiggle room.
Yeah, sure.
Which is again, maybe that's probably the difference between arcade and sim is like how much is the computer going to help you out.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to step all over you when you were introducing it, because I think there's also a lot of like the world is fucking rad. The multiplayer like Drivatar integration is really fucking smart. The soundtrack is probably the like licensed soundtrack of the year for games. I didn't mean to step all over you. I do actually.
Why do you think it's
cool,
amazing, Chris Plant?
I don't know, man. Like, it's hard after it gets like
step all over him,
shredded
apparently.
first. I think it has a feel that is joyful, and I feel like next to nothing I play in video games has a feel that is not about either killing things or profoundly cynical.
Yeah.
Like that Watchdogs 2 I think is like a memorable experience because you don't have to shoot everyone in the face with a normal rifle, and like it's cynical but like doesn't make you also want to like throw the disc out the window. It speaks to just kind of the place that we're at. I mean, again, that Battlefield 1 is another game that is like I held up earlier, and even that is still I think like gets away with a lot because it's like better than the worst.
Well, it's also one of the most like anti-war games I've played in a long time.
Yeah, well, also being a war game.
I didn't play Forza Horizon or Forza Horizon 2, so I didn't really know what to expect from Forza Horizon 3. And that first mission where you have a race with a Jeep that is suspended by a helicopter while like churches plays in the background, like I was pretty into that.
Why does the Jeep? Why not just have a race with the helicopter? Why is the Jeep even
exactly
involved?
exactly.
Cool.
Yeah,
When's that Assassin's Creed movie coming out?
like 3 weeks, man.
That was
Is that gonna be a Christmas thing?
Did you like finish Forza Horizon? Like, was there a finish to? I mean, I think also my problem also stems from like I just don't like open world games as much anymore. Like, did you? Is there a finish to
Is there even a
game?
story? I don't even know.
Yeah, vaguely. It's like that typical.
Hey, you're
every
new in
sports
town.
game since SSX.
You gonna fix up your car for us?
Yeah, like, oh, there's a festival, and
Oh,
like
yeah,
you
okay.
want to have a festival. The whole point. I mean, honestly, like I said, I have been playing Just Cause 2 since it came out because I can fly around a tropical island, and it is pretty and a stress reliever. It is like my mental squishy ball. And this is like the exact same thing. Like, there are crazy beautiful skies. The water is blue. You can drive around sand dunes and have no expectations of doing anything remotely close to a goal.
Yeah.
I mean, like, have I beaten the game? No. I've unlocked all the spaces, essentially.
Sure.
But
I had,
mostly
I had
just
actually a
like,
hard time. That was another reason I kind of bailed. Is I had a hard time understanding like how the loops of that game worked. Like, I hit a point where I needed more fans, but I didn't. I'd finished all the events, and it took me a while to realize like, oh, you actually have to go and find drivatars and race against them to get those fans.
yeah, I mean, if you win the races, it should be fine.
Did you try tweeting obnoxious things as well? That might-
Yeah, that's the other trick.
I did that.
What is it? That is like a big mission in game. Another thing that appeared in Watchdogs. This idea of like,
likes and
we've got all the followers now.
It's
We
in
can
fucking
fun.
Pokemon
It's
has
actually
that too.
fine.
The new Pokemon.
It's in Pokemon Sun and Moon. Yeah.
Yeah, weird.
That seems
I'll-
like
I'll
a really negative ambition to give young people.
Talk about.
I want
cynical.
to. I want to get back into Forza Horizon 3 because I did like what I played. I think it's honestly also laziness because I realize I'm gonna have to learn how to play those games. Like I still have this friction where I'm following the drive line, and it turns red, and it's like slow down. It's like, are you sure? I think I know it, and then I eat shit, like, just because it doesn't feel right. To, like, no, I want to slam on the brakes and whip my big fat car ass around this curve. Oh no, I died. Oh yeah, I died here.
Whoopsie.
Where's my boost meter?
Frushtick, what did you bring?
Oh man, I've got the game that could take the title, gentlemen, and that game is Doom from Bethesda and id Software.
Now, which one is that?
This is the one that came out in 2016. It's the one where you rip hearts out of demons frequently. It's also the one that I had zero expectations for, and I think everyone
Yep.
did. Everyone went into this game
Well,
expecting...
yeah, a 60-year development cycle will do that for a game.
Well, they expected mega dog shit, and they expected a lot. I mean, forget 60 years. Like, they fully canceled a game. How many years was the first version of Doom in development?
God,
A few?
30 years, actually.
It was 37 years. Yeah,
37 years. So they worked on it for a while, and then they ditched it, and then they made this game in like 2.5 years or something like that. And it's weird because I think these sorts of games need to be very infrequent, which is to say, like, my tolerance for like this like crazy, insane, quasi-mindless shooting is really like 1 or 2 games a year at maximum. But this game nails this feeling of like you are a supercharged on crystal meth gun god that runs into a room and just like rips heads off, rips arms off, uses rockets and switches to a chain gun and switches to like a lock-on heavy assault rifle in a second. And it's just this, I mean, it feels like how your memory remembers the original Doom, but it's in truth way more interesting and way faster, and there's way more going on. They just like nailed it. Now, I want to mention there is a whole entire mode of Doom that is total and complete dog shit. There is no question that the multiplayer in this game is fucking awful. And it's weird because that's what they led with.
that's what they've expanded too. Like their first expansion
it's
was
cheap
that.
to expand multiplayer. Like that's
Yeah,
why they've
sure.
done that. That's the cheap, like you just add a map or whatever. Yeah, the multiplayer is fucking heinous. And what I wouldn't give for this game to have like co-op in the campaign. I don't know if they haven't added that, right?
I don't know.
I don't think they have. But even though an entire mode of this game is dog shit, the campaign and the fun of the campaign so outweighs that I really just like absolutely adore this game. I play Doom. When I play Doom, it's on a Sunday morning with like I'm sipping an orange juice, kicking back, and like
Hailing
God,
Satan.
you really
It's weird.
painting
I
a
feel
fucking
this-
picture for me right now.
I feel the same way that Plante feels when he's like unwinding with Forza playing Doom. There's something, and I play on like easy difficulty because I don't want to worry about anything like that. And I just it's just like really soothing, and I've got.
Do you know
a lot
what
of
game it
enjoyment.
reminded me of a lot? Well,
Serious
two
Sam.
things. Tony Hawk Pro Skater, but also
Oh, yeah.
specifically the club.
Yeah, no one played the club, but
Okay.
let's talk
A
about
lot,
Tony
yeah.
Hawk's Pro Skater.
Yeah, I mean, they're both. The club was the shooter version of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, but the whole idea is for it to be enjoyable, you have to do chains, and the idea of making your health tied to melee
So
and having to
good.
get
Yeah.
into it it's really awesome.
It's a really that needle is so fucking hard to thread of remaking this like iconic classic experience, and I'm not being like hyperbolic or gross PR-y when I say iconic. Like it is
it's
a
Doom.
it
It's
is
iconic.
It's a fucking icon.
Yeah.
Like it established a lot of things. To add to that and modernize that without losing the stuff that did make it iconic, without tipping too far in either direction, and like this game walks the line fucking perfectly.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's really outstanding. It would have been hard to do if they hadn't like scrapped it 37 years in to start completely from scratch or close to from scratch and crank it out in 2.5 years. But considering it had the dev cycle that it did, and still turn out this
Yeah.
like remarkable is
It's
really
also
saying
amazing that it
something.
came out of the studio that made Rage, which was like the total opposite of this. Like slow,
That's a long time ago.
plotting.
Well, and also I think with Rage, they tried to do like, well, it's Doom, but like with all these different, RPG hooks and an explorable open world, and they were like, well, let's not do that in Doom. Like that didn't work
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much.
Also,
let's just
the
not
team
do
that
that.
made this and the team that made
Yeah,
Rage,
different, obviously.
yeah, there was a significant turnover.
It's an interesting way of approaching a remake that Bethesda I think is so smart about, specifically with Doom. I think you can extend some of the same compliments to Wolfenstein, but I don't think that Wolfenstein was about. I think Wolfenstein was more about finding a relevant place for an IP more than it was trying to recapture what that game was about initially.
I agree with that.
But like with Doom, the thing that's so smart about it is like there's two different ways you could approach a remake, and you can recapture the way the original felt, or you can recapture the way the original made people feel. And I think that with Doom, the really smart thing they did was not to try to create something that felt like the original Doom. They tried to create something that would recreate the feeling of playing Doom back then. And like so much time has passed, especially in just the scope of video game evolution. So much time has passed, and like our literacy and the way we play games has changed so much that like a Doom that just felt like the old Doom would have been disastrous because that's not what games are like now, and our fluency in the way we interact with them has changed. And I just think it's such a smart way of approaching it, and I was shocked that I enjoyed it as much as I did. I rarely feel compelled to get better at shooters. I mainly just kind of want to get through and see what's going on. But like it makes it so rewarding to get better.
Yeah.
You want to find the ways to improve yourself, and it makes it really work.
And I
Yeah.
fucking did like this isn't my type of game, not even a little bit, and it never ever ever has been. But like I got better at it. And I thought it was gonna be like too punishing and like insular. But like no, by the time I reached like the halfway point of the campaign, like I was fucking murdering it. And that was
and it's
so
great.
satisfying.
It's so good also about throwing you into a situation where your initial response is, well, I'm dead. And you just have to make the decision.
And
like,
it's
well,
also-
no,
it's-
I'm actually gonna not die.
so
I'm actually
smart.
gonna kill everybody.
It's so smart about adding one thing at a time, one gun at a time, one new enemy at a time. A new ability. Well, okay, here's a trial to like help you do this same thing over and over again. These 15-second tight ass loops until you are the master of that. It is a beautifully designed game.
It's
Justin
the Mario
made an interesting
formula.
point about the feel versus the look or how you remember a game playing versus not. And what it reminded me of is the original DuckTales. I loved DuckTales on the NES. Do you remember? It fucking rocked.
No, this is a good comparison. I know exactly
You
what
went to
you're
the
talking about.
moon, you bounced around on your cane, it was fucking amazing. And then, I think a year or two ago, Capcom went and re-released the original DuckTales and didn't touch the gameplay at all, and it made me want to jump off a fucking cliff. Now, you compare that to what I think is the equivalent of Doom, which is really Shovel Knight. So Shovel Knight took how you remember playing the original DuckTales, modernized it enough that it wasn't a fucking miserable slog, and made it super duper fun, but still kept that original spirit. That's how Doom feels, 100%.
God, Shovel Knight was such a good fucking game.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Let's bring it back for this year's consideration.
What are those guys working on? What's Yacht Club on?
I don't know.
It's got to be more Shovel Knight,
I
right?
feel like they're working on something.
SK2, baby. Speaking of sequels, fine. I want to talk about Dark Souls 3.
I am very surprised it is not Griffin that is taking Dark Souls 3 to the
We'll talk about it.
Okay.
I am not somebody who, I avoided the Dark Souls thing for a long time. And then I eventually, this is really weird, but I went through this weird 1 week period where I got really obsessed with the idea of Dark Souls more than just I wasn't playing it. I was just obsessed with the idea of playing it. I got really into I decided I'm actually just going to try this thing that I have. And I didn't beat it because I got to the end of Anne Orlando and I just fucking couldn't with those two guys.
And you wrote a song about it.
And I wrote a song about it. It was haunting. But I really love so much about Dark Souls, and Dark Souls 2 fixes so much about that game. And I feel like Dark Souls 3 is a really worthwhile evolution of that. And it was really weird for me to see the reaction to Dark Souls 3 because for me, for the type of game that I was looking for, an expansive world and a story that is inscrutable, basically, and really interesting enemies and powers and ways of using those abilities, and I get that it is obviously not as punishing as previous games, but for me, I really dug it. I really dug Dark Souls 3 a lot.
My beef with it is mechanically, it's the best game. It's the best Dark Souls game. The weapon styles was fucking great. Really, really, really cool stuff. The way
you think it's better than Bloodborne in terms of mechanics?
Well, no. Bloodborne's the best game From Software's ever made, fucking hands down. And if anything, this game suffers having followed Bloodborne.
Yeah.
Because while I think mechanically it nails it, I think it is the least obtuse game that they've ever made. This game came out in April. I don't fucking remember anything about it. I just don't. There's a fight against a big skeleton. Yeah, I remember that. I can tell you everything about Dark Souls 1. I can tell you a lot of stuff, not everything about Dark Souls 2. I can tell you I could recite the plot of Bloodborne for you right now.
Yeah.
This game came out in April of this year. I don't remember anything about it, and I think it's just, one, I don't think it had that many outstanding moments. Right? The first time that a monster transforms into a big black inky dragon, that was pretty crazy. Justin and I were playing Monster Factory. That was my first exposure to the game, was playing Monster Factory, and that first boss you fight transforms into this big, inky T-Rex. That was pretty cool. And there's a big skeleton fight. I honest to God, can't think of a single moment without having to wonder, wait, was that in Dark Souls 1 or 2? Which is the other problem, is, there's this swamp level. There's a bunch of fucking castles. There's a bunch of old ass
Well, and it's not even a coincidence. They intentionally made it as a greatest hits of Dark Souls 1 and 2.
Yeah, and
I think that is at a fault.
It was fun to play it because the mechanics were so good. But I half of the reason I play Dark Souls is because the RPG progression loops are tight as fuck. But the other half is those moments, the memorable things, the Ornstein and Smog of Anne Orlando, the abyssal dragon, that is the reason why I do that. And there's not that much memorable stuff from Dark Souls 3, I feel like. And not only that, some of the bosses I beat by myself the first time that I faced off against them. Some of them were very tough, but a lot of the bosses I would just walk in and just first time get them.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot easier.
Yeah, so like I'm not even coming at it from like, oh, it's too easy, Dark Souls should be punishing. It's just like there's a spark that other games have had. Bloodborne had them. Every level had some cool shit in it. The aesthetic was like dope as fuck. The story was good. It was. It took some work, but it was good. And I just don't. I'm thinking about it, and the only reason, if I were to summarize it, the reason it's not on my list, and it will be on my top 10, right? Like I had a good time playing it, but we're bringing 4 games to this thing. I just don't remember it. I just don't remember much about it.
Do you think, though? I would posit this. Do you think that part of that is we've gotten a lot of Souls games?
Oh, they're coming out. They're coming
years.
out really fast. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I think that's a big part of it. Is like it definitely suffered from like being released so close to Bloodborne. I would also say that people tear these games apart a lot quicker than they used to. You basically by the time it made it here, the entire game was laid bare for you to find out whatever. Sorts of it loses a lot of the mystery, I think, because there wasn't that thing of people rapidly all discovering it together because it was released in Japan first. Remember?
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think Namco Bandai definitely has them on a like pretty fucking tight schedule.
I guess we're off that though, right? Like they're saying that.
Well, they have a new. I think they're working on a new new IP, but it'll still be like Soulsy. That's
fine with me because that's what Bloodborne was, and Bloodborne is one of my favorite games ever made.
Yeah, I think what you like the importance of like you can praise the RPG mechanics and the boss fights, whatever. I think what sells Dark Souls for me is 100% the environments, and like what progresses me, what gets me excited is like I'm walking into a new area and it looks like fucking bonkers crazy. Mm-hmm. And because of this game being like, a retread or a greatest hits of Dark Souls 1 and 2, there just weren't, there was like one, I think Dragon's Peak was like a pretty standout environment that looked like really cool and had a really cool boss fight in it. But that was pretty much it. Everything else just felt like familiar places that I'd been to before. So
that one boss fight that you did with Siegfried, the Onion Knight man.
Oh yeah,
fight the giant. Like that was pretty
against
cool. When I think
giant.
about it, when I sit here, I really think about it. Like the fight against the Storm King, like that was pretty cool.
The dragon fight is cool, where you slam down on the dragon.
Oh yeah, that was it. But that's I have to sit here and really be like, oh yeah, there was that in the. Yeah. There was. I mean, I
played through the game 3 times to platinum it, so maybe it's just because I'm
really
crazy.
You're a
person.
broken person. Plant, tell me your game, Plant.
He already did.
Yeah. Not Plant then.
It's Griffin.
Griffin remains.
Do you want to tell me about my game, Plant?
Griffin Andrew McElroy.
My game for round 3 is The Witness. A J-Blow joint, and it's full of puzzies, and you're on an island, and you solve the puzzies, and you get light beams.
That pretty much boils down. That was 6 years of his life boiled down.
Yeah, that's he did a TED talk. And he was like, lots of puzzies,
light beams,
light beams.
I don't know how to talk about The Witness because it's a game where you walk around this huge, just lovely island, and you solve puzzles on a grid 1 billion times.
Yeah.
And that's like it. But the nuance of the game is like impossible to describe because then if I try to go into more granular detail, it's like, well, some of the puzzies, they have black and white dots and you can't put those in the same area, but sometimes you do if there's a triangle. Like, it's really, really difficult to talk about in specific terms.
Yeah.
That game though has a sense of discovery that I don't know that I've ever seen in a game before.
I think you haven't seen it in a puzzle game before. I think the way
Certainly.
I think of it is sort of like picture like a Mario game where you're introduced. We're talking about Doom earlier, where mechanics are slowly introduced to you, and same thing with Mario. That's like the classic Mario design. It's like first you get jump, and then you get a cape, and then you can fly, and Yoshi, and whatever. And this is basically the puzzle game version of that, which is you're introduced to a mechanic. You're slowly introduced to another mechanic. You go to another side of the island, a totally new mechanic is introduced, and then you go to the center, and both of those mechanics are melded together.
only some of the mechanics are like, well, this is gonna. Whenever you see this, it contradicts the other mechanic.
Yeah.
Like this game is constantly suspending these ideas in your mind, like a fucking like baby's mobile that has to like balance out. And you have by the time you reach the end of the game, 14 discrete rules are interacting. And you have to keep it all straight. And like if I say that, I probably just said that, and some people who haven't played Witness are like, well, that sounds terrible. Bye. But the masterful thing about this game is that you can handle it.
Yeah.
Like you can handle it because the game like lovingly walks you through those different mechanics. Now sometimes it doesn't. There's certainly walls where it's like you reach a new area and you hit a grid and it's covered in fucking like Lucky Charms, and you're like, I don't know.
I don't know what any of these
Red
mean.
balloon.
And so
What do these mean?
you just start fucking around with it. But there's almost always a series of like 4 or 5 panels where there's like a grid, like a 1x1 or a 1x2 grid, and it shows you the rule. And then the next one's a 2x2 grid, and it shows you, okay, but here's what the rule really means. And those panels are like, those tutorials, if you want to call them that, are so fucking elegant and so good. And when you figure it out, like you feel like the king of Genius Town.
It
like,
does sort of feel like the design doc was really like someone went into a mental facility and peeked into like a padded room, and John Blow was in there, and on napkins out of his blood he had written like all the puzzles out and just spread them all on the walls.
Yeah.
And
I mean
for some reason, like his like crazy brain, I mean obviously other people worked on it, but his crazy brain was able to work in this like insanely logical, very like thoughtful educational way to like lead someone down a path of like mental acceptance.
just the like rules based puzzles, right? Like these 2 colors have to be in their own section, but also you have to make it in the shape of this tetromino. Those are wild. When you start getting into the, okay, follow these rules, but there's also these like environmental requirements,
There's like a bird chirp
you
that
can't
only
touch
happens.
you can't touch any shadows.
Yeah.
And you have to draw it in the shape of the waveform of a bird chirp. Like the shit is so wild, and you sit there for 2 minutes just looking at it like, I have no idea, there's nothing on this fucking grid. And then you figure it out. Like it is so satisfying to conquer these rules. And then once you figure it out, like each section of the island, I think there's like 13 or so, each kind of having their own sort of special rule set or like environmental puzzle solving you have to do. There's like two moments in it, and the first is like, oh, now I get it, and then the rest is like trying to use what you just learned to take down an increasingly complex series of puzzles. And then you get up to the one-off things where like you solve puzzles to climb a tower, and then once you reach the top of the tower, you look down, and the fucking like hedge maze you just walked through is also a fucking puzzle. Like it's so good. I dreamed about this game. I could not. It grabbed me and would not let me go. I played through it like furiously over the course of like 4 days, and it's a pretty long ass game. And I got all those lasers. I solved all the puzzies. It grabbed me in a way that like only deep ass RPGs like Skyrim I have done. It's grabbed me in a way that like World of Warcraft did in its heyday. Like this game like got me good.
The only knock I would say against it, and I actually put this in my review, the moments that you aren't actually unearthing a new mechanic, it can get a little bit frustrating when you've got the mechanics and you understand what you have to do, but you're just sort of like grinding on a puzzle. That can get a little that there was a lot of times where I was like, okay, I know what I'm supposed to do, I just like don't wanna, like I can't do this again, please. And it's like, especially there are some that are chains of like 8 or 9 puzzles of the same theme and idea that don't necessarily introduce anything new. There was a few moments like that where I kind of felt a little frustrated with it. But I think it's a fascinating, really worthwhile, cool, like meditation. It's a really interesting meditation on a single mechanic.
Yeah.
There's one mechanic in the, I mean, really,
Yeah.
there's one mechanic in the game. And it's like, it can feel a little show offy, I think, but I think it's a really useful sort of thought experiment that like I'm going to take one mechanic and one of the most simple mechanics you can, and I'm going to build an entire like not just game but like vocabulary.
Yeah, sure.
Like when I was playing this, it was before release, so there was no way to like cheat or get a help or a walkthrough.
Even now,
from the
it's not
internet.
easy to cheat because it's like, what the fuck do you Google?
Well, and the problem is if you do it once, you like you're
The
fucked
spell is
because-
broken. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you do it once, you're not going to have that knowledge for the next time. But what I ended up doing was on a couple that I got really stuck on and had to plow through for review. I actually like would draw I would send screenshots in the Polygon
that.
lounge room. Remember that? And like it would take me 15 minutes to explain the language of what was happening.
Yeah, Deez
but
and
then we
Jake
have like
got really
s-
into helping you crack
Yeah.
those nuts.
we have really smart people who aren't editorial on the Polygon staff, like really smart coders and really smart like people whose brains work this way, like this is what they're built for, that would like help me to muscle my way through some of the tougher puzzles. But like it's great. Like
It's
the
also the
fucking
most.
aesthetic
It's
is
also
so
the most
good.
beautiful game.
It's
maybe
gorgeous. It's
of-
chill
of
as
the-
hell.
Yeah. Let's
loved it.
let's vote because we spent a long time on this round. This one's actually kind of tough for me because like I recognize Doom's a good game, like a great game, but it's not like the genre I like, and I feel that way about Forza Horizon 3. Like, I think I like The Witness the most out of all these, but I think I'm probably going to get.
Should we
dunked
instill
on.
that you can't vote for the thing that you put up?
Yeah, if we do that, then Dark Souls 3 is the second most game I enjoyed out of these.
You know what? I wasn't thinking about it until I like put myself back in the headspace. I really loved The Witness. Like I really like The Witness a lot, and it's the kind of thing where like I think is worth sort of celebrating. I mean, I don't know. I thought Doom was great too, but The Witness is like it seems like a really special thing to me, and I felt it was Doom was like more fun probably, but I felt things in The Witness that I don't feel while I play video games anymore, like a sense of discovery and satisfaction that like most games like just don't give me.
Plant.
I'm gonna go with Dark Souls. I didn't talk to
Whoa.
The Witness because I found it insufferable and I couldn't make it past an hour and a half.
I think that's
I've never
interesting.
felt more like I could actually feel the designer. Somebody already said this, but like literally looming behind me. It just felt so. I'm sorry, it felt very smug.
I
How
do
much
wanna
better
say,
would The Witness have been, though? I do want to say this just super quick because the image is in my head and I have to get it out into the world. How good how much better would The Witness have been if every time you solved a puzzle and another one appeared in front of you, an FMV Jonathan Blow dressed as a wizard popped up from the bottom of the screen and said, "Oh, a puzzle!"
I mean, that's
Like, every
essentially what we
time.
got with the FMV. Like, there are FMVs in the game.
Those
Ah,
are
that's
great.
true,
Those are
yes.
so good.
Oh my gosh.
FMV's back.
I remember playing The Witness like a year and a half or 2 years before it came out in a hotel room in New York City. And in that hotel room was me sitting at a laptop and Jonathan Blow sitting across from me in a chair staring at me for an hour and a half. And it was the most intimidating.
Isn't that the worst? I did a demo of Antechamber. I think that was Alexander Bruce.
Yeah.
Did that one. That game it fucking rules, but it's like it's a 3D puzzle platformer where you have a gun that draws different shapes of cubes, but they each have their own rule, and you basically have to like design circuitry, and sometimes you'll leave a room and it'll disappear behind you, and it's all these like impossible shapes. Fucking demoing that with this guy like, what do you think you need to do? Like, oh man. He was really nice about it. He's a great guy, but like that demoing games like this makes you feel like, I don't know, the king of Dumbtown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's gonna win? What's gonna win this round?
Okay, so if I can't vote for Doom,
I think you can vote for. I mean, you brought it. Like,
I mean, but no one. I mean, you're right. Doom would be my pick.
Here's what I say: like, if folks are gonna vote for Dark Souls 3, I don't want Dark Souls 3 to win this round because I also think Doom was a.
Yeah, I really could switch between Doom and Dark Souls.
I just don't think Dark Souls. I think Dark Souls was a very fun game. I loved playing it,
but I don't think it was special in many ways. Doom, I think, is a very special experience. So that is my pitch for Doom.
I could also let The Witness go on. If the three of you love The Witness, I don't want to be holding it up for any arbitrary.
The Witness made me
But
nauseous.
I also recognize that Doom is a really, really well-made... I'm torn between a really well-made game in a genre I like and a really well-made game in a genre that I don't typically get into, but it did actually, for the first time, kind of get me into that genre a bit. I don't know.
Doom.
Russ, you're saying Doom. I'm saying The Witness. Justin, you're saying...
The Witness.
Chris, you're saying...
Doom.
Okay. Gentlemen, I've got someone perfect for this problem.
No way. Come on.
You don't get to have
Hey, yo,
another
it's me.
personality that breaks ties.
I heard you guys needed some help with the tie.
And we can't.
What are the
now,
two
okay.
games? What do we got?
Now let me say this. Let me make an
Pokemon
argument.
Go
Oh,
up here?
I will. You are. I will. I can kick you from the call. Like, please don't do this. Don't do this thing.
Hey,
Here's
if you
the-
guys
here's
want to
the-
decide, that's fine with me. I don't need to be the tiebreaker.
He really is
I want to
testing
make
it.
This is the
a
Besties
rare
I've missed.
conciliatory argument in favor of time. Plant hated The Witness. None of us hated Doom.
Yeah, but that's not. I think I hated The Witness probably for the reasons that it's good. I don't want to. I don't want it to be that. Like, I hated The Witness because I think I brought baggage with it. Like, I don't know if that's a good reason to like not include The Witness. I can at least recognize the value of The Witness as a game. I'm not saying that my opinion is very different than the quality of the game, I would say.
So No Man's Sky is what you're saying.
Woof.
Okay,
woof.
My uncle was in that game. He was on one
you know
of the
what?
planets. Did you meet him?
I'm gonna say The Witness. We're gonna have plenty of other big flashy games. I think battling in the final round. So let's do
Okay,
The
I'm going
Witness.
away then.
Also, just want to go ahead and get out and say this is not Polygon's Game of the Year.
Just
thank you all
really
for
want
listening.
to.
Just another
Yeah,
reminder.
I gave The Witness an 8. Like.
Round 4.
Round 4. Oh, hachi machi.
Really saved some of the stinkers for round 4, huh, gang?
Did we?
No, that's pretty good. I can start round 4.
Go for it.
I brought Fire Emblem Fates. I'll do it quick. It was I still like playing games on 3DS and Vita, but like that's done. More than any other platform. It's just how I like to play games, is like on the go or sitting on the couch doing something else. And I don't think there were a ton of great games for that platform
There were not.
this year. What's that?
No, there definitely were not.
Yeah. But Fire Emblem Fates was like a really early, really, really, really high point. It had, all the good stuff that Fire Emblem games have. It had the specter of permadeath hanging over you. It had the support system. It had really great and like a really remarkable amount of writing for all of its like really colorful cast of characters. The core gameplay of that game is still like tight as hell.
It fixed one of the issues that I think we've always mentioned whenever we bring up Fire Emblem, that whole idea of like durability on weapons.
Yep. That it is less. We talked about that when Fire Emblem Awakening, another game I really, really loved, came out, but I constantly felt like I was using my stuff wrong, and that is more or less gone here. I think the big thing to talk about here, like, it's a really, really well-made game. For me, it's probably the most I've enjoyed a Fire Emblem game, and SRPGs are like my jam. I think the big thing to talk about is the division between 3 different games, and not even from a financial standpoint, but from the prospect of, do you want to play this game 3 times? Because I reviewed the game and I really adored it, and I played through shit. I can't remember.
Conquest.
Not Conquest. The other one.
Beginnings or something.
I can't remember. The one where I teamed up with the red people, the red-haired people.
Well, the Asian people or the European people?
Yeah, I mean that was the divide.
Yeah.
And then there's a third one that is Revelations, I think.
Yeah.
Why can't I remember? Anyway, I played through it the first time and played through one of the campaigns, and it's cool because whichever, like, you're choosing between your adopted family or your birth family, and once you start playing through with the faction that you've decided on, the game doesn't really compromise. Like, you're gonna kill
Yeah.
some of your other family members. And it adds these moments of tension that, like, I don't think this series has, like, gotten me into before. Like, the tension of these games doesn't come from the story. It comes from the turn by turn, like, God, I really don't want this person to die in this fight because then I'll lose him forever. This game also added some of that tension to the actual story of the game, and it was really cool. So I finished that first campaign, and I was like, all right, great, awesome. Now I'm going to try and get through the second campaign, where I go with the other half of the family. And so I turned the difficulty down a little bit so I could, like, plow through it. And I did. I finished that second campaign, and then there's that third campaign where it's like, if you want to find out the real truth of the game, you got to play through this campaign. And at that point, I had beaten the game's 2 campaigns, which are lengthy, fairly lengthy affairs, within the course of, like, a month and a half, and I haven't done it.
Yeah.
Just can't. I love it. Great game. I don't want to beat it 3 fucking times. And that's not even taking in the, like, price idea of it, which I'm not too turned off by, because it's not like this is the differences are pretty stark between the different versions of the game. It's not just like Sun and Moon, where it's like, oh, it's different times of day and there's different Pokemon. Like, it's a different story. The missions have different mechanics. There's a lot of different stuff. There's different classes.
And you didn't have to rebuy. I think it was $20 to add another campaign or something like that. It wasn't like a full price.
I don't want to play this. I don't want to play this game. I don't want to play 3 campaigns of this game back to back to back. Maybe someday, some year, I'll get back into it and finally take on the final truth. But it's hard to feel like I didn't get the whole story.
Yeah. So I played through all 3 of them.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I spent, no joke, I've checked, like, the play times. I spent 100 hours playing this Fire Emblem game.
Damn. I'm glad we hired you back, Russ. You should not be left to your own devices.
Real asset. And I played it. It probably took me about 3 months to do it. And it was definitely really hard to, like, get up to do the third campaign. And the third campaign is probably the weakest of the 3, which is a real shame.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not super great.
That sucks, because the whole time the game is like, if you really want to know the truth of what happens.
Well, but you said it before. The story is not really what propels you through these. It's more about the gameplay. And the gameplay of the third one, they just do some, like, really cheesy, like, gimmicky mechanics in the third one that I didn't really like. And the story is kind of, it's like, oh, there's, like, a demon third guy that's, like, fucking shit up. And it just didn't stand out for me as a game. I mean, obviously, I played 100 hours of it. I fucking loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
So good. I want to point out one thing in the game that, like, almost got it, almost made it. And if it had made it, I'd still be playing this game today. It had this castle system where you could customize and upgrade different parts of this castle, and then you could invite other players in. It was a asynchronous multiplayer mode where, like, other people could try to raid your castle, and so you'd set up.
Yeah, it was sort of like Clash of Clans.
Kind of, yeah. And it was like, it was almost deep enough. If it had been just a little bit deeper, if there were more layers of customization, I feel like it was not that hard to break through an enemy's line and, like, conquer their castle. It was so close to being this, like, really polished, really cool asynchronous multiplayer mode with rewards that carried over into the full game, like, so close. And if they're talking about doing this, the iOS versions of this in Animal Crossing, both of which will be terrible, but, like, if it was just that, but a little bit more refined, like a Clash of Clans Fire Emblem game, that would be fucking incredible. And this game laid the groundwork for that, and I'm really hopeful that they do more with it, because a asynchronous multiplayer Fire Emblem game is like, ooh boy, it could be something really spectacular.
The other thing I want to mention is tonally, and this is sort of true for most Fire Emblem games, but this one in particular, it's a very sweet game. Like, the way it's written, the characters are, like, very sweet, insofar as, like, they're very kind and, like, kind of thoughtful to each other.
Yeah.
And there's one, like, side story in particular that involves, like, one of your kids from another realm, whatever, neither here nor there, but, like, he for his own reasons likes wearing women's clothes, and the whole storyline starts out with, like, his brutish, like, knight of a father is like, what the fuck's he doing, like, you know, he's disrespectful and whatever. And by the end of the storyline, it's like, well, I accept him for who he is. And that's, like, a really weird, sweet, nice moral that actually carries through to almost all the storylines in the game. So I really like that.
Who else has stuff? I mean, everybody does.
Juice, you want to do yours?
Yeah. Mine is Quadrilateral Cowboy. I'm noticing this year I'm really clinging to in a year that was like full of a lot of games that I thought were really well executed, but not particularly like fresh or fascinating. Quadrilateral Cowboy is a very different sort of game, and it is basically, if you didn't play it, I don't want to call it like a hacking game because it doesn't really cover it.
No, it's a coding puzzle platformer.
It's a coding puzzle game. You have a set of tools, mainly your led by your deck, which is your laptop, that you can use to break into these facilities and usually try to steal something or take something, or reprogram something or whatever. You have a lot of different tools, like a little video monitor that you can use in conjunction with this Weevil, which is a little drone basically that you can program to do certain things. And when I say program, the wild thing about this game is I literally mean write lines of code and run them and see if it solves the puzzle, and then tweak them. And the things that are most interesting to me about Quadrilateral Cowboy is the extent to which it forces you to do this stuff with very little in the way of shortcuts. You can tap, I think it's the up arrow to repeat commands that you've done before, which makes it a little smoother. But like by and large, you're typing the commands in, and it's up to you to do every line of it. And like there's little stuff like your video monitor is something that, and all your tools are like this, is something that physically exists in the world. So if you want to watch your monitor where your Weevil is, to watch what your Weevil is doing, you literally have to like put it at the right angle so you can see it
while you're coding into your computer.
While you're coding, right? So you can see it sort of in your periph, and you can and like if you leave that behind in a room, that you have to go get it. Like if you forgot it, like a lot of times I would get to like the last thing and realize like, crap, I left my video monitor back there. I'm gonna have to walk back and go get my video monitor. And while it should seem like an annoyance, the really interesting thing about Quadrilateral Cowboy is it makes you do these things so many times that by the end of it, I really felt like I was doing it. Like I really felt like I was writing lines of code without referring to like the instructions or whatever. I was just like, I had these lines of code in my head and I was just pounding them out. And it is such a cool experience, and it takes a little while to get there, but like it's so smart in the way that it makes this world seem very real and tactile, and it really made me feel a way that I haven't with other games. And it's a feeling of like really well-earned expertise.
Expertise
in a game that like shouldn't have worked. I mean, like we talk about No Man's Sky sort of like calling a shot and saying like, I don't know, maybe this will be fun, and it wasn't. But Quadrilateral Cowboy is just as much of a called shot. Like, I don't know, I'm gonna maybe a game where you code something, maybe I can make that fun, and they absolutely pull it.
It's that expertise that's the fucking coolest thing. Like the swag shit of setting your deck down at the start of a level and then entering in 15 lines of code, like select this first door, turn off alarm for 3 seconds, wait 3 seconds, open door, like the being able to build a chain of commands and then adding in pauses. You can do that and basically set it up so that you hit enter and then you walk to that door and you wait for your code to open it up and you walk through it and then you wait for your code to do the next thing. Like it's this feeling of doing a fucking bank heist where you have set this chain of events into motion and just pray to God that you gave yourself enough time in the actual wait lines of the programming. Like, it is the fucking coolest feeling ever.
And it's even fun when you fail, because it's like every time that I fuck something up, a lot of times I would like, okay, yeah, that's on. I did forget to program that door to reopen, so I guess I am just stuck here. All right, that's on me. That's my fault. I guess I did program that gun backwards. All right, I guess I put it upside down. Like, there's a lot of it's got a sense of silliness that is and fun of experimentation that I think is really worthwhile.
Plante, did you play it?
I did not. I played a demo, or not a demo. I played a version of it for IGF. I feel like 2 times in the past 3 years. So I played like the evolution of it, but didn't get time to play the final version. The thing that I was curious about. I mean, obviously I've like watched most of it now. Was did you get around to playing any of the mods, Justin?
No.
So I've heard the mod scene around it is nuts. Just because it is this like just playpen of tools built around coding and all these different objects that people have come up with really bizarre and interesting things.
It's interesting, like, yeah, that you do have so many options because there are like digital solutions to things in the world. Like there's a way to hack, whatever you need to be open. But there's also physical environmental solutions. Like you get a gun and you can program coordinates in your computer where you want that gun to aim and then tell it to wait and then tell it to fire. And you can use that to hit a button to get that button to open a door. And so, like, sometimes that's shit you have to do. Like there's so many different ways to tackle any individual level. And yeah, I do want to check out. I didn't even know there was a mod scene for this game. Like people are making new levels and shit.
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand, they're creating all sorts of weird things.
Oh man, I gotta get back into it.
Check that out.
I
should I hop on
didn't really
mine?
get a chance to play it, but
You should.
I've seen videos of it. It does.
It's a hard sell. Like the thing I would say that would get people interested is like that moment where you set up the fucking heist in code ahead of time and then walk your way in the real world through the results of your programming is the slickest like Ocean's 11 shit.
Yeah,
I've
that sounds
ever
amazing.
done in a game.
I would worry that I would feel too dumb to like figure that out.
Yeah.
But
Running towards a grid of lasers because you are short on time and just praying that your code makes it disappear before you hit them, and then it does a millisecond before you go through the door. Like, it's fucking
that's
amazing.
Very cool. That's very cool.
Chris or Russ? Who wants to go next?
I'll grab mine so we can save Titan, whatever Russ brought
Spoilers.
for the ending.
Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
Oh,
man,
shit.
I've heard that
Attack
game's
on
good.
Titan. That game fucking rules.
Yeah,
I
it's
need
good.
to try that.
I'm bringing it. I'm taking out.
What? No, it's too late. Justin,
Nah, I'm
no.
bringing it. Quadrilateral, no way, out. Attack on Titan is a Spider-Man game where you have a sword and you fight giant babies. It's a fucking great game. Let me just say, honorable mention. I should have mentioned that. Attack on Titan is fucking so kick-ass and weird. Griffin played it, and
It was
am I right,
good.
Griffin, that you could not believe how fun it was.
It was
it's silly.
we were playing it a lot when we were doing the Mabim Bam show, and so like we'd come home from the shoot and we'd be fucking so stressed out, like, well, nothing funny today, and then we would just like Spider-Man cut up babies, and
Is
it was
it like
awesome.
Earth Defense Force? It looked like very weird Earth Defense Force-y.
Yeah, dude. Chris,
that's not that
yes.
far off, but like, yeah, it's very silly and very fun.
Every time you
and-
kill a Titan by cutting its delicious back neck meat open, it gives you a ranking, and it's like amazing subjugation. It's always a subjugation. It fucking rules.
satisfactory subjugation. And the mechanics are like the swing mechanics are
Really good.
great. They're really, really good.
Yeah.
You can fly across the
This
level.
is a great transition to body horror, which I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about a little game called Inside.
How much of cause more than any other game this year, people were so up their butts about spoilers for this game. So I don't know how to talk about. I
think we should be able to talk about everything in this game.
It's
so
also
people,
been, how many months has it been? It's been a while.
It's been a while. It's on PlayStation and Xbox now, I believe. People are okay. If they want to skip ahead, they can.
There's a twist. If you haven't played the game and you don't want to be spoiled, seriously skip ahead 15 minutes because it's the most spoilable moment of a game this year, I think.
Yeah. So it's from the people who did. Oh dang, what was it called, Russ?
Limbo.
Yeah. And once again, you are a little boy wandering through a very bleak world, solving environmental puzzles, and kind of, I guess, understanding the story through these different places. And it's like, I don't know, we'll get right into the spoiler, but for me, it's like Kafka meets Akira. Like, it's just this, like, it starts out as like a kind of normal-ish looking world that you are, like, I don't know, you're on the lam and the government's out to get you. And as it goes on, it just becomes increasingly abstract and fantastic. things.
Well, there is a pig butt alien in like the first 3 minutes.
Yeah, I guess what I mean is like the environments themselves.
Yeah.
It plays it like pretty close to the vest, as weird as that is to say, and then like it goes into like German expressionism where like the shadows are longer than they should be. Things just kind of go off infinitely into the distance. You're walking through factories, but the factories seem to have been built for no other point than to process the meat of children. By the end, bodies are floating upwards that are like hanging from this rafters. It gets really, really grim. But of course, what I liked about it was the puzzles felt, for the most part, not repetitive, and like actual environmental puzzles. Like it wasn't like so many bad environmental puzzle games are like, well, you do a little bit of platforming, and then you get to the next place, and then it's a puzzle, and you solve that. Well,
and
this
even
felt
Limbo,
like,
I thought, had like a lot of like pushing box puzzles.
Yeah.
That this didn't necessarily rely on as much.
For the most part, this game has like, oh, I am in water and I need to get out. What can I find at the bottom of this lake that I can loose from a small cave that will float up to the top, and then I can use that. Or it feels like you're using the environment as you would if you were actually trying to escape.
Yeah.
Versus like, oh, well, a giant puzzle designer decided that he would interrupt a normal world with 10 more puzzles. But the ending is so good. And that is the point in which you essentially turn into a giant ball of naked appendages. You're
a body ball.
You're a body ball. You're a ball.
Justin, did you play the game?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you're a ball of appendages, and then you steamroll through the rest of this giant and I don't know, like evil factory place.
And all the workers are like bureaucrats that are like working at their desks.
Yeah,
and suddenly this body ball just like rolls through the door.
Or in the middle of a meeting. And I love it because I mean, I think this is like a very classic video game thing of, okay, here's your reward, you did a great job, and now you get to be, some weird power fantasy. And it 100% gives that to you, but at the same time is like, oh, life as you know it is gone. You are literally nothing more than a mass of skin. Whatever victory you're getting out of this is ultimately undercut by the fact that you are like a mouthless monster that will surely like bake in the sun the second it escapes and die.
I was like, so many people were talking about this game. Best game ending of the year, maybe of all time. And it was something. Like when I finished the game, I feel like I didn't love it as much as everybody else, because when I finished the game, I was like, well, that was something. Like it was definitely like weird as fuck, and it made me feel not good. Like I felt like the end, like a lot of people were like, so fucking funny. I was super bummed out by the ending.
Yeah, it's
because like a kid dies and like, haha, get it? Yeah, I guess I get it. Like it's very dark and it made me feel some stuff.
I mean, it's dark. It's I think the ending is meant to be obviously dark in the sense that he's dead or transformed or whatever the fuck. But obviously this organization that was doing this gets basically ripped out from the inside. So that's sort of the...
Sure, yes.
Which is where the title
I don't know about that, but that's the upside of it.
But no, I have a harder time, like... I guess it shouldn't be... not all art has to end the same way. And not all art has to leave you with, like, the same feeling. And I completely get that. But like, there was something about Inside that, like, I played Limbo before I had a kid, and I played Inside after I had a kid, and it is a lot harder for me to handle like watching a kid die repeatedly, and then like even that, which is like I can get past, when the ending is that sort of like grim. It's really hard for.
We should point out that like after you escape the facility, this ball tumbles down a mountain and then dies.
Does it die? Do we know that it dies?
It's
just chilling in the sun.
It's unclear.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he got outside. Like that's great, but like it just felt so grim to me. and it's hard because you can't. I mean, like you can't advertise like how something will make you feel at the end of it. Like that's not a good solution. But for me, it was just like it felt like a gut punch, and I didn't really and it bummed me the fuck out. And it's like, well, thanks, I guess.
It was powerful, right?
I
Like,
enjoy my $15.
That's a successful piece of art that
it
made you feel
successfully
something.
like made me feel that way, and it's a good game, and it had some really great puzzles in it.
I would
But
say that I think that it is pulling from an entire history of fiction about children. Like I mean I don't think it's like it's Grimm's fairy tales. Like
Yeah,
I completely understand. Like yeah, as a parent, like especially with death animations for a character are
Which also harkens back to like the good old days of Eric Chahi, fucking Heart of Darkness getting fucking vored
flashback
by
and-
100 discrete gobble monsters. Like, yeah, there's some rough stuff.
Yeah, I think what's also interesting is the idea that like that bothers you, but literally the countless other video games that we've named in which characters die in horrific ways
Sure.
don't.
Characters, but not kids.
Sure, but like that seems like a troubling statement on video games. Like
Or on Justin.
Yeah, no,
maybe.
video games are terrible. Like we're all on agreement. Like they're all bad. Like yeah, I won't let my kids play video games ever. They're a nightmare.
your kid will play
And they
football.
waste-
That makes sense.
Yeah, she'll play football.
No,
There's gotta be other things, but like and I'm not saying like I guess it's not fair. Like I'm not saying I'm leveling a fair criticism. It's just like, man, I didn't need that. Like that's kind of how I felt. Is you know what I mean? Like if I click an article on Vox that's gonna bum me out, at least I know I'm like, here we go. Like here we go. Let's do it. Like
What
let's
about
get
the
into
art
it.
of this game made you think
the
ah,
beginning of this game is the most depressing fucking shit too.
I'm not kidding.
I
I
already
saw
spent my
tweets
money,
from,
dog.
I saw tweets from people who were like, fucking hysterical ending because you're a big silly mot. Yeah, I guess so. Like, yeah, I guess. Sure.
I mean, it is, but don't get me wrong. I think it is funny, intentionally funny in a few moments. So there's one moment where like the guy is pressed up against the glass, and you like mow through him and crush him on the ground. It's meant to be funny. There's a puzzle in that final sequence, one of the very few puzzles in that sequence, where you're in this enclosed space with one other dude, and you're this giant body monster, and you're horrifying, and the other dude is trying to get away from you. And he has to type in his key code onto the door to like get away from you. But if you get too close from him, he'll run into a corner and you can't. So you need to wait for him to like type in his key code before running over him. Like that's meant to be funny. It's fucked up. There's no question it's fucked up. But it was meant to also be like, look at how fucking outlandish this is.
Yeah, sure.
So I wouldn't want to take that away from them.
yeah, I mean I completely understand where you're coming from, Justin. I think for the reasons you didn't enjoy it are the reasons that I found it worthwhile, because I feel like there is a homogeneity to homogeneity. I don't know to so many games that come out, especially puzzle games, and having something that felt grim and like I guess Tim Burton-esque would be like
and
the
had
generous
stakes to it. Like what puzzle game have you played that has stakes to it?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I will say that it handles like grim materials in a pretty elegant way. It's not like a fucking like
It also has some
spurts of blood while fucking Hot Topic music plays in the
yeah,
back. Like
and it has some
for
sweet
sure.
moments. There are like
does.
some affecting bits in there too.
yeah.
Well, we got to move on. 'cause
Let's hit
we're
that
like-
final
this-
one.
This is gonna be a fucking like 4-hour long episode of
It's
this
gonna be
show.
lengthy.
Yeah, it's stupid. Okay, last game.
Last game, Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2, I came out really late. I didn't play it at launch. I played it after I played Call of Duty, after I played Battlefield. And I kind of went in with pretty low expectations. I liked the first Titanfall, but like obviously there wasn't a lot of meat to that game. And why I really like Titanfall 2 is I think there's a lot of shooters, Battlefield, Call of Duty, pretty much all of the big shooters these days feel pretty close to similar. Even Overwatch to a certain extent feels like sort of similar in the way you move around the world and the way you shoot at guys, stuff like that. Titanfall makes you feel like a fucking god, whether you're in your Titan or not. Like movement and like exploring this world that Titanfall, or the movement mechanics that they've added in Titanfall and really refined from the first game, feels fucking amazing. Like the feel of like wall running again, dropping down and punching a guy 50 feet feels fucking spectacular. And just, I mean, there are a number of things. I also think the way they've done multiplayer, I talked about it before, the smaller player counts really works in their favor. It just, I think they made a good game the first time around, and this is like the total refinement of what they were trying to do. I really, really dug it.
They also made a Valve campaign.
Yeah.
The campaign is just
So
a
good.
Half-Life follow-up campaign.
That's the craziest just I've ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah, I know.
It's just a Half-Life game. Like, fuck off. Yeah, like it's crazy that this game that didn't even like have a campaign. Where have these people been?
Well,
what were those guys doing the first
they
time?
made Modern Warfare 1, which had an excellent campaign as well. So like, it's not like they're not capable of this.
It uses such smart, like there are so many like interesting ideas that are playing out in that campaign, more so than like it really utilizes the future setting in a way that like I feel like the Call of Duty games haven't, which is to say like it is not just better, cooler guns or better, cooler locomotion, but it like feels like a futuristic world. Now I haven't played Infinite Warfare, to be fair, so it may make better use of that, but I just thought
Infinite Warfare it's interesting you mention it, because Infinite Warfare I think is the most grounded version of that future. Like if you were in space but you only had like USSR technology in space, that's what Infinite Warfare feels like. It feels like very grounded, whereas Titanfall feels like they just leaned in the direction of like, this is fucking future.
Yeah.
There is a level, just to give an example, so we're not just like bloviating. There's a lot of really interesting ideas, but there's a level where you're in basically a place where houses are being fabricated, and it's an assembly line where like the floor is being put on and the furniture is being put on, and these things are being constructed around you, and you're making your way through this facility, and you are like for example, you'll be standing on the floor of a half-finished house, and then the house has to turn on its side so they can attach another part, and you're turning with it. So you have to like, okay, well now that's the floor, so I have to figure out, how I can brace myself. And throughout the level, you're having to traverse these like half-constructed houses is what the basically the entirety of the level is. It's so cool.
What's so smart about that level is we talked about building on ideas and training you for what's next. It starts out with a tiny room, and then it's a house, and by the end of that level, you're on entire blocks of a neighborhood that are being turned vertical. So like you're literally climbing a block of a neighborhood as if it was aiming directly up, and having to reorient yourself and use the wall run against what is essentially the ground. There's just so many smart ways that it builds on its ideas. I just wanted to hop on the comparison to Call of Duty, though, because I find it really interesting that, the same studio, in theory, Infinity Ward, came out with Call of Duty this year. And I think you can see just the two different ways the ideas of that of Modern Warfare have gone, and that Call of Duty, I do think it's a perfectly fine game, but the thing that always bums me out about the series is, mechanic-wise, it doesn't really trust you to like make the fun. Like it puts you in a fighter pilot, and then you hold a button and it does everything for you, and then you're back in another place where you hide behind cover and do the same thing, and it has like one core mechanic that it's honed, and you do it over and over and over every single game with very, very tiny variation. While so much of what makes Titanfall 2 special is it is throwing mechanics at you and giving you so many options of how you use them, and basically saying like, get out of cover, go out there, use these tools, and like you'll figure it out and it'll be enjoyable for you. We trust that the game is good enough that you will enjoy experimenting with these things. And that's I think the same goes for Doom. I think like the shooters that are really standing out now, they have this added hook where they like expect you to actually go out and create the pleasure versus just, oh well, this is shooting and that's the game. The game is shooting and we do it well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're making games that allow for that. It's not just random where it's a sandbox and you can do whatever you want. They, the wall running and the movement and all the tools that they give you in Titanfall allow for that level of fun.
For sure.
I do have to knock Titanfall. My one complaint about Titanfall is, and I get it, I completely understand. This game is merciless about finding ways to separate you from your crazy giant missile robot. Like half the levels, this fool's like, well, that tunnel's too small. Best of luck, buddy. There's one level where the motherfucker just gets picked up by a magnet. He's like, well, bye. They're taking. It's in the house fabrication level. This big crane's like, hey, it's got me in this crane. I don't know what to do. Your arms are missiles. Like, just get out. Like, don't make me come for you, dog.
I only just got Dishonored, a Titanfall 2 a couple days ago, and so I'm like, I'm just now playing it, and I just finished Dishonored 2 last night, and it is the most refreshing. I got the no-kill trophy in Dishonored 2. I was all psyched. It is the most refreshing opposite of that game, where it's like, yahoo! I'm on a fucking bullet
you're a
roller
fucking
coaster.
superhero, and that's the thing. It's like you're not a slow. And I love Dishonored, and I love that pace of that game too. But yeah, totally. As a palate cleanser, 100%.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to go back and play Dishonored 2 again though, and just create crazy murder traps, deception style murder houses.
Yeah, let's do this vote.
Man.
Let's vote.
Oh boy, this is actually a tough round. Are we doing? Let's say for the first, your first vote shouldn't be for your own, just to see where we're at.
Yeah, okay.
And
I would vote inside.
I would vote. Shit. I don't know. I feel like I should abstain this round just because I haven't played that much Titanfall 2 and I really like what I've played. But I think if I'm not voting for Fire Emblem, I'd do Quadrilateral Cowboy.
I'm doing Titanfall 2.
I'd vote Titanfall 2 if I wasn't voting.
I'm okay with that pick.
Yeah, I'm cool with
Cowboy.
Titanfall 2.
So just looking at the top 4 here, it looks like Russ got 2 and I got 2. So Justin and Chris try a little bit harder next year.
Maybe
To
just
be fair,
you don't even
though,
need to be
a lot
in the
of that was a
finale.
result of me. You guys jumped on it quicker than I did. So maybe some of the 4 I brought weren't my 4 favorite games
also,
of the year,
I will say that the game that may very well win this was a game that I gave you, Griffin. It was my original pick.
I don't usually. I think we usually do another round where
we're not going to do that.
I think we should just do it from these top 4 and have this be the finals.
Let's see where votes are. So just as a reminder of what the top 4 are. So round 1 winner was Overwatch. Round 2 winner was Stardew Valley. Round 3 was The Witness, and round 4 was Titanfall.
Damn, that's a good man. You
Good
know
list.
what? It was a good fucking year.
I'd be proud for any of these to win.
I don't want to undercut this, but I think we can probably take a shortcut here.
Okay.
And just and this is not my favorite game of the year, but it's looking at a consensus. Probably Overwatch, right?
That's the
something that we're all going to be able to get on board.
That's
I'm
the
gonna
obvious
say
choice.
this.
Is it the Besties choice though?
That's the that's the thing.
That's the
Here's what I'm gonna
Polygon
say
game of the
about
year.
Overwatch. Of the games that are on this list, Overwatch is not the most fun I've had this year playing a game. Just isn't.
I'd agree.
I've had more fun with Titanfall 2.
I will also say my personal game of the year, I said this earlier on, is Stardew Valley, and that is in this list. So I would be disingenuous if I said my pick was anything else.
So let's vote. What is your pick out of these 4? Let's go around and see where we're at after that.
Mine is Stardew Valley.
I'm Stardew Valley.
Mine's The Witness.
What?
You purposely just torpedoed it. You're gonna give it to Stardew Valley.
I just Stardew Valley didn't hit with me, and I like Titanfall 2 a lot, so probably Titanfall 2.
What the fuck fuck just happened?
He figured out the math
I never
on
said
it.
no. I didn't think Overwatch is not my favorite of the four. I'm just saying like I didn't really like Stardew Valley that much, and Plante didn't play a ton of it. The Witness barely scraped by in its round. Titanfall 2, Griffin hasn't played.
Don't forget its round success. Just go by you.
Yeah,
Like,
this
Yeah.
is
Also,
you.
also,
This is
I'm
the
playing.
worst.
Plant, you
I'm
played.
saying that like I'm saying that because it's like apparently there aren't super strong feelings about
But
it.
don't worry about everybody
Well,
else. Just say what your vote is.
Yeah, what's your fucking? Don't think about. We're already in the
I'm
fucking
36.
election.
I don't like anything that much. Okay, I'm fine with whatever. I just want to move on with my life.
Justin,
Gary Johnson.
Of these four, what was your favorite of these four? What did you like? What did you like? But what will be next year when you think back on 2016? Which of these four games will you think back
Witness.
on the most fondly?
Okay.
The Witness.
And Russ.
Probably Titanfall 2.
Okay, so it looks like Stardew Valley with 2 votes is the winner this year. Thank you
Although,
all
wait,
for
let
listening
me
to the
just say
Besties.
one thing before we lock it in.
Uh-huh.
There is
I would
something to be
swap to
said
Titanfall
for
2.
letting Titanfall 2 win because Arthur gave it a 7.
I would prefer Titanfall 2. I mean, if we're narrowing it down to 2 options,
You
apparently.
did already
I
vote
would
for the
switch to
Witness.
Yeah, but could we give it to
It's
The
not a
Last
vote.
of Us?
It's not an up and down vote. I would switch to Titanfall 2.
Okay, it's 2v2, Stardew Valley, Titanfall 2. Does anyone want to change their votes?
No.
No.
Justin?
Plant, you played 2 like
No.
you said that you
He said he
bailed on
played
Stardew Valley.
2 seasons of Stardew Valley is like a good 30 hours. That's a long ass time.
Okay.
Justin, you don't want to change your vote?
No, I don't want to change my vote.
And I don't want to change my vote, so there's really only one.
No, God,
solution.
Russ, I swear to God, I'll hang up on the fucking Slack call.
That would
We're
only
not
be
doing
a
this
tie.
again. We're gonna sit here for 5 minutes and we're gonna talk this through until we fucking figure it out like 4 adults.
You know what? I'll switch to Stardew Valley.
Here we go.
Chris Plant.
If it keeps New York Giraffe off the show.
Plant, are you sure you like Stardew Valley
That's
that much?
3, Russ. I'm sorry, bud.
Here's the
tides,
thing.
They
Here's,
are
here-
changing.
here's the thing about it. Titanfall 2 is a fantastic game. It really is. But what if I didn't give the award to it?
Whew, that's a good. Here's
Good
what
argument.
seriously, all seriousness. I think Stardew Valley is a really special game. Even if you
Yeah.
take away like if you don't even look at like how fucking fun of a game it is, I think it's worth rewarding more or less a single person. Although I recognize that's not how games got made. There are other people involved, but this a person who looked at a genre and said, "Well, this genre has gotten worse and worse for the past decade."
Yeah.
And then almost single-handedly fucking made the best version of that game ever made.
So your vote is
Here's
for the
the thing.
Witness. You're voting for the
Wait,
Witness.
wait.
Is that what you're
I was about to say, like, come on. Also, like, if we're going to give that big Besties bump, that Stardew Valley would stand to benefit, but I'm actually looking over the sales, and I realized that
Titanfall 2
Titanfall
could
2
use
would
it, too.
actually use
Yeah.
it. You know what? No, I'm still going to go with Stardew. I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm fine with that. Stardew Valley is a great game, and I love it. So
Yeah.
I have no problem with that.
I'm good with that. I feel good about it.
Oh man.
We did it.
Now let's do our favorite section where we talk about whether or not we think people are going to be upset. So just to go through the years, I think this is our 3rd or is it our 4th? Because previous games of the year include or Besties games of the year. Again, not a Polygon product.
Zelda
is
won one
Zelda, Link Between Worlds.
Yeah, beat out
Dishonored 1, right?
Dishonored 1.
Oh wow.
Was there another one?
What was last year?
I'm gonna Google Besties game of the year.
The winner of last year was.
I think it was decided by the fucking New York Giraffe. So
I think it was too.
we don't even decide it. We didn't even decide it. We didn't even mention what the game of the year was. I have to listen to the fucking episode. Hold on.
Where would we have put it? Like, are we going to write a recap post
Yeah,
of our
that seems
fucking
like a big
podcast?
spoiler.
I hope someone is hearing this. I don't know.
Wow.
We're just gonna hear Griffin getting angry at New York Giraffe.
Replay, like Undertale. Yeah,
Well, here's me fucking talking about
Oh,
Undertale.
no.
That ain't it.
absolutely. Bloodborne.
Oh, Bloodborne. Was it Bloodborne?
I think it was Bloodborne.
I think that sounds right.
Because you kind of put us in a hostage scenario between Undertale and Bloodborne.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
And maybe have
Okay, I think it was Bloodborne. I'm not sure. That's a
Those
good
are-
one.
I have no problem with. I mean, I have no problem with the games that we've selected over the years.
I think we've done a great
the thing
job.
that you can say about that, I know I wasn't pushing Stardew that hard, but like the thing that you can really proof of success there that game, it was so sort of under the radar that we didn't even have like a review of it until almost everybody was talking about it all of a sudden. Like that game did not have like a marketing campaign or anything. It was literally just like word of mouth.
And also just like to be honest and to be kind of serious for a bit, this year fucking sucked. And joking aside, like it was a very it's been a while since I've had an anxiety-free day in 2016. And like a lot of there's been this thread of us talking about these games, like Chris talked about it with Forza. We've talked about it with a few other games. It has the games that I've gravitated to more this year are the games that are like
Sweet
or like mentally good for me.
Soothing.
Games that are not hyper cynical or like super duper shooty, even though I recognize that I get this way certainly, like it can be cathartic, and that can be a method of like developing an inner peace. And I kind of love the idea of like the most chill ass game, the game that I would actually like dive into when I'm feeling hyphy. I like the idea of that winning the game, winning our award for this fucking miserable year.
Yeah. If only we could live in the Stardew Valley.
If only I could live. And now they've got different farm layouts.
Been hearing a lot about that lately, about the new farm.
There's new farm layouts. There's one where there's ore right there in your farm. You can go mine it. You don't even have to go to the mine.
So that's going to do it for us.
Do we want to, real quick before it
on
wraps up, do we
Besties.
want to guess the likelihood of us coming back next year?
It'll happen. Well,
Who
it's our
knows? Who
fucking
knows where we'll
torment.
be? It's a long
our-
year.
Yeah, we'll fucking do it.
I do like me and Nick do Cool Games Inc. now, and sometimes we gravitate towards actually talking about real video games. And I'll be like, oh, we can't do this. It is actually it is nice to like sit down and fucking talk about this stuff.
Let's start doing this every week.
No, God, no, please.
I think people would really enjoy that. I'll edit it. It'll be fun. I think people would really groove on it.
I don't think you can even say that, Juice. If
Plant, do you want to keep doing, like, you don't work for Polygon anymore, but like you want to keep just doing this show though? You want to just do it every week?
You're gonna wake up tomorrow with the
There's gonna be
biggest
a
regret
flood.
hangover.
Yeah, but like, think about that.
Listen,
Wouldn't you just want to do it again?
Listen.
We don't have to get Grant's permission. We can just do it.
that is a good point.
listen,
No,
audience, we'll see you when we see you.
Who knows?
in December of 2017, that is when we'll see you.
Yeah, anyway, so that's going to do it for this year on the Besties. Sorry we didn't talk about fashion or sports that much this time, but that's the end of the show. I would tell you to like and subscribe. I don't even know if we have an RSS feed, and I don't really give a shit.
Yeah, I don't know if
you
those
do
two
it,
things
like it or
are
not.
even things you can do.
This is an annual Christmas gift that we give to you, our beloved, and I guess holiday time gift for all your celebrations, your Thanksgivings or what have you. So I hope you enjoyed it, and that's going to do it for us. Make sure to join us again next year.
Why do you
for
sound so
Besties,
sad?
It's so
Because
sad.
shouldn't the world's best friends pick the world's best games? Yeah.